Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special Tower of Babble podcast. As always, I am Julian Mush. I am joined by Rachel Wilkinson in studio today.
Hello, I am here.
Yeah, it's fun. Nice to having people in the studio. Take note, Jeremy, who's not here today in the studio.
It's
too bad.
To Jeremy.
Yeah, just to rub it in. Yeah, it is too bad. In fact, that's even more too bad. I forgot to turn on the accent lights behind me. So, what a waste. But we are here today to do something very special, which is to celebrate the year 2022, the year of our Lord 2022, and its best films and TV shows. And you guys have all heard about the top 10 lists. Everyone does top 10 lists, right? And then sometimes people are like, well, top 10, that's too easy. We'll do top 5, right? But no. We're even more bold than that. We only do top 3s here at the Tower Babble podcast. We
might even be partial top 3s.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope, one would hope, that even if you've only seen 3 shows this year, that at least you like the 3 things you've seen or the 3 movies you've seen. One would hope. But there's lots to talk about. We'll also talk about some of the trends from the last year, some of the things that stood out as being particularly memorable in 2022. And we'll talk about our honorable mentions, which some might say is really just an extension of the top 3, but not here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it is a unique and special, separate list of shows and TV and movies that we liked. And we're also going to talk about things that disappointed us, things that just did not work in our opinion. Now, again, this is not to mean that those things are bad, but that they just didn't work for us. So that's what's on docket for today. This is, of course, the 6th annual Tobies. Again, a very prestigious award event. Everyone who's going to be receiving an award today is going to get a special package in the mail. That's not true. We will be sending nothing out. Spoilers.
In fact, there's no awards.
In fact, there's not even an award.
No.
Hold on. I have
just
something that looks like an award.
things you liked.
Yeah.
I have this amiibo of Samus that's on like a little the base. That kind of looks like an award.
Sure.
You know? I'll just keep that here just in case we want to hand that out at any time. But before we get into the actual awards ceremony itself, I will remind all the folks at home, and actually thank all the folks at home who've been listening for the last year. You guys are the best, and if you want to help support the show, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/TowerBabblecast, where for as little as $5 a month, except for in January, because we paused billing for January. For those who have subscribed, you're welcome. You can get access to our film club. We do a monthly film club, and this will feel particularly special if you like our reviews that we've done of, for instance, Avatar: The Way of Water, or The Batman, or etc. from this last year, because we cover a new movie to us, every month here, exclusive for the Patreons. And last month, of course, we did Die Hard for Christmas.
Yes.
I'm converted over to the idea that it's a Christmas movie. And this month we're doing The Saint from 1997, which is a well-known film that I'm sure everyone here is familiar with.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's how Jeremy's pick, actually. And actually, Rachel reminded me, even though I said the opposite on the Star Wars podcast yesterday, that it was her pick, but it's actually my pick this month for February. So be prepared for something.
Yes. And then we'll see.
Yeah, be prepared for something that's probably not as good as any of the previous 2 picks.
Well, you guys might have to do some back-to-back picking. As I said to Julian, I don't know if I'll be here for April.
Assuming there's no complications in your pregnancy.
Well, yeah. I mean, other than having a very small human to deal with.
And other priorities.
Yeah, you know. Oh yeah, Jeremy has kids.
Speaking
of kids, so he'll find this funny. Julian said that I could just rearrange my feeding times for the baby.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
How hard could it be?
Wow.
I can rearrange the feeding times for my dog. I don't understand I don't get it.
He's like, whatever, you just feed the baby before. And I'm like, yeah, only that's how it works, Julian.
Yeah, I think I assume that's how it works. Please feel free to correct me. Please send in any comments you might have to towerbabblepodcast@gmail.com.
So yeah, I might have to take a month off, so we'll see.
We shall see, but that's okay. We've got we can always tap on some friends of the show to fill in as needed. So prepared for that for this 2023. Again, we will get into this in just a moment. I will remind the folks at home, though, one last thing, which is follow us on Twitter @TowerBabblecast, Facebook.com/TowerBabblecast, and head over to our website, towerbabble.ca, to find everything that we do. And remember, we are recording this live. We always do this live. All our shows are live. We do those live on video for those who might want to see what we look like. You can head over to towerbabble.ca/live. We record our Bad Batch recaps, which we're doing right now, on the small screen Star Wars feed on Thursday nights around 8 o'clock. Basically around 8:30 for any time we're doing this, to be honest. And then, of course, today is a Friday, and we're doing this around that same time. So, shocker, shocker, shocker. All right. All that being said, we've got some awards to hand out. We shall start with I think, the more difficult category this year, which is television, in my opinion. Now, lots of good shows this year. Here are just some of the shows that may or may not have been on your list if you, as a listener, you've watched this year. White Lotus, Yellowstone, Wednesday, Willow, The Bad Batch Season 1, Andor Season 1, Severance Season 1, Succession, House of the Dragon Season 1, The Boys Season 3, Euphoria Season 2, which it boggles my mind that is this year. Was that this year, Jeremy? Can you confirm that for me?
Maybe like the second half, crept into this year. I don't know. Maybe.
Stranger Things 4. That was a big one. Tales of the Jedi, Cobra Kai Season 4 and Season 5. We got 2 seasons.
Really?
Yep. Halo Season 1, The Bear Season 1, Lord of the Rings of Power Season 1, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, a personal favorite of mine, Shoresy Season 1, Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1, Sandman, Marvel's Werewolf by Night, The Pentaveret, which, to be honest, I didn't even watch the whole thing, but it is nice to see. Speaking of classic comedians, which we were talking about before we started recording, nice to see Mike Myers kind of back to his old shtick with The Pentaveret. Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, Season 5, for those who are into that kind of thing. Moon Knight, Star Trek Picard Season 2, Peacemaker, Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, The Book of Boba Fett, The Dropout.
Wait, is it possible to watch, can one single person watch everything? There's just so much.
I have watched almost all these.
This is nuts.
What?
No, you haven't. There's no
I
way.
have.
You watched all that Star
Trek?
No.
Not all the every single Star Trek thing up here I've watched. There's like 4 Star Trek shows.
Only watch TV and movies?
I almost exclusively watch TV and movies. Where was I? Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, The Book of Boba Fett, The Dropout, The After Party, Only Murders in the Building Season 2, Our Flag Means Death, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, What Do We Do in the Shadows Season 4, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Those are just a few possible shows that you may have seen this year in 2022. Now, our job
That's a lot.
Was to narrow it down to 3. And we each have our picks of 3. And Jeremy, since I have no idea what your picks are.
No, you guys go. I'm not going first. I need to be reminded what's
right
out here.
Okay, right. You think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, why don't you go first with your number 3 pick?
3? Oh, I had Rings of Power for number 3. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I would say I'm not as deep into it as some. I had to do some Googling during the show to remind myself the difference between orcs and goblins.
Yeah, but I mean, most people don't know the difference between orcs and
goblins. I texted you too, and I was like, "Is there a difference?" I'm like, "Is that an orc or a goblin?" And I don't know. I thought there was a difference, but anyways, I liked it. I know that there's a lot of complaining online.
What? Complaining online? No.
Well, yeah.
Never. You're kidding. You're kidding me.
But I really enjoyed it. I liked it, and I looked forward to watching it every week. So that was definitely in my top 3 for sure. So.
Okay.
I gave it the solid 3.
So, spoilers for my list. Rings of Power did not make the list, although I loved watching that show. I had a very good time watching oh my God. A lot of Star Trek. Yes, I did enjoy watching a lot of Star Trek and Star Wars this year. But no, Lord of the Rings, a show that probably the most expensive show ever made. It was coming in at over $1 billion or something crazy.
Really?
It's not, I don't know if it's that bad, but it's wild. It's the most expensive show ever made. And, you can definitely see the money on screen. It's a very good looking show with very good looking people.
Yeah, it was like movie quality, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Those who might be diehard Tolkien heads had some problems with some of the liberties that they might have taken, but they were restricted by the source material. They just did not have unfettered access to the source material, so they had to make some changes. Ultimately, I had a good time just being in the world. It really reminded me of, you go and you watch the movies, right? The extended cuts or, the whatever. And you just feel like you're in the world, right? I guess New Zealand does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But they go back to New Zealand, and they stylistically it looks very similar, right? And it's just like there's just this vibe, this Lord of the Rings vibe that I think they captured.
Yeah.
And despite quote unquote inaccuracies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not enough of a buff, I would say, to like be able to point out those inaccuracies, I guess. So from like a casual watching,
sure.
I was like, oh, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a great time. Jeremy, did you watch Rings of Power at all?
No, I did not.
No.
The inaccuracies just kind of kept me at bay.
All right, sure, whatever you say. All right, so then, Jeremy, are you ready to give your number 3? Or do you want me to go next?
Yeah, honestly, like I don't even think I watched a TV show.
You didn't watch one show
year.
this year,
but I did watch a few episodes of The Bear, which I don't know if that's in your list, but
oh, I love that show. Please go on.
I've heard very good things about it.
Please go on.
Yeah, I just think it's a really cool, gritty look into the a kitchen basically.
Yeah.
That seems very realistic. And the dialogue, the acting, just
Pretty
seems very top notch. It just flows like it's like you're watching theater or something. Like
it's unbelievable. I love that show. I was really struggling with where to put it on my list. It ultimately made the honorable mentions list and not my top 3. But if it was going to be somewhere, it would be number 4. To be very clear, I thought it was so good. I thought the performances were great. It's so dramatically rich, but doesn't feel like a soap opera at all. Like it just feels, like you said, Jeremy, very real. And then this exploration of like the differences or like these kind of like I guess differences between like being a gourmet chef and like just being a cook, right, at like a small time restaurant, and like how those things are actually very similar, and just maybe some of these kind of underlying resentments that people have towards that type of like very fancy chef, and how they apply their craft. It just like I just thought it was an unreal show. So you didn't finish it, Jeremy? Is it you just ran out of time?
Yeah, I just got my fix of it, and then I kind of just forgot about it, I guess. But not
so
that it's like forgettable, but like because obviously, I'm mentioning it here. But yeah, I just really dug the cinematography, the camera work, just kind of how it was, just very unique in certain situations, and like it would stick on the main character a lot.
They make the food look so good.
Yeah, that's true.
The second to last episode, Jeremy, if you were to go back, I would just say I would recommend you finish the show. But if you were only to go back for one episode, go back for the second to last episode, which is all done in one cut, which is I know can sometimes feel very tacky, but it's done in such. I didn't even like the first time I watched it, I didn't really even notice it was happening because it's so intense, it's so hectic, and they're just moving the camera all throughout this kitchen.
Yeah, the pace. Seeing the editing is just it's ridiculous how they can capture the attention for that long.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and it stars that guy from what the heck is his name? Women love him.
He looks like he could have been like a hobbit.
Like
a Frodo.
Yeah, he do. Yeah, women do. Jeremy Allen White, Carmen Carmi.
What do you mean women love him?
People talk. I'm telling you, anytime I see him referenced on the internet, people are like, he's such a dreamy guy.
I don't get it. See, that's when like people say the same thing about Timothy
Chalamet. Yeah, he's the same style of person, for sure, 100%.
This is no offense, but this guy that you just pulled up is a weird looking dude.
I think so too.
But maybe it's like when he's acting, he's got that attitude in the.
Yeah, he's also in Shameless, which people like him a lot in Shameless.
I've never seen him, so sometimes it's someone's demeanor that makes them more attractive.
Sure. I personally, I don't see it either. personally, but
yeah, I don't know.
that
It's
is
weird.
the vibe that people seem to be giving off about this guy.
Interesting.
You heard
Okay,
it here.
yeah, you heard it here first. I have a finger on the pulse of who women find attractive in pop culture. Apparently, we're apparently mad at Liam Hemsworth. Is that correct? We're mad at him right now. Is that?
I don't care about that situation at all.
But you know about it.
I'm not like a
Because
big,
of Miley Cyrus?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not-
literally learned about this like half an hour ago.
I'm not a big Miley Cyrus stan. Like I'm not into her music. I guess.
Wait, did you watch the latest video?
Her new music video?
Kind of, but I just don't.
You're gonna have to watch that first before
So
you
Jeremy,
decide.
you've got time to watch Miley Cyrus music videos, but you ain't got time to finish The Bear.
Of course, what do you have? Music videos? What? 2 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 3
I'm on
minutes. if you're
YouTube.
lucky.
Quick couple videos here and there. Boom. That's it.
Yeah, fair enough. I feel like you're not getting the most out of that TV, Jeremy. Is what I'm really
Oh, I
talking
am.
about.
I have plenty of 4Ks.
Okay, so great pick for number 3, Jeremy, with the Bear. My honorable mention at a mystery number 4, I will say. All right, so my number 3 pick for television show this year is a little show on HBO Max starring a former wrestler and a CG eagle named Eagly. And, and it's called Peacemaker, and it's a spin-off from the Suicide Squad movie from James Gunn, and it's directed by James Gunn. And, we're going to talk about a little bit later some of the drama that was surrounding DC this year. It's a lot of it. But this show it kind of removes itself from all of that drama almost entirely until the very, very end. And even then is still, I would say, pretty loosely tied to any of the quote unquote baggage that might be left over from the DC universe that we have right now. But it is so funny. It's ultra violent, sure, but it's more about this character of Peacemaker, who basically goes through a journey of understanding that he's a piece of shit, he's an asshole and a garbage human, and has to like come to terms with that and like embrace these kind of relationships that are surrounding him. And it's all played through this lens of, again, ultra violence and really crazy stuff. Like there's aliens and there's secret agents, and there's a CG eagle that's his like best friend that gives him a hug, and like weird stuff. But it all feels very heartfelt. In fact, it reminds me a lot of what they did with the Harley Quinn animated series, which I don't know if you guys have seen, but I find also to be very similar in tone, which is wacky, adult, right? Ultra violent, but also has this kind of like this underlying layer of like honest, heart to heart human emotion, right? About kind of like what makes a good friendship, or what makes for a healthy relationship. These are like questions that they address, with this kind of like curtain of action and humor and gore and all this. It's like, and more than anything for me, what really sold me was they do an opening credits scene. You don't really see opening credits as much anymore. It's usually like title page and then move to, think of the Bad Batch.
Right.
Imagine someone clicking the skip intro button for the Bad Batch. You would have, by the time you went to go get to the button, it would be gone. They have a whole dance sequence where they listen to a metal song and they do a whole choreographed dance that has nothing to do with the show. It's just fun.
Now, question: I don't know anything about this show.
Yeah.
Is it animated or is
no?
live action?
It is.
Okay, I haven't heard anything about it, probably because it's on HBO Max, and that's
it's not
one
easy
of the
to
things
see
that
here.
I don't have.
Yeah,
so.
It is absolutely
wild. Is that John Cena?
It is John Cena.
Oh my god. Okay.
And he is so funny. And the best thing about John Cena is that he's willing to make fun of himself and be self-deprecating, and it really, really works.
So is this just kind of like a play on like a superhero, but a fake one?
So he's a superhero that kills people, and so so I think the joke that he makes in the Suicide Squad movie is that he will kill any man, woman, and child for peace.
Okay. All right.
So this is the character from the comics. Right.
I mean, good casting. He does look a lot like John Cena.
Yeah. Anyway, if you've seen the movie, which is here he is in the movie with King Shark and others.
I have not.
You know, the rest of the Suicide Squad cast that Jeremy can name. Who else is in that movie? I'm trying to Ratcatcher, is that one?
Yeah. Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man, yeah. That soldier guy from the first movie that they brought back and then killed. Right. Anyway, the point is, Peacemaker. Jeremy, did you see any of Peacemaker? I was trying to convince.
I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes.
What was your take on that?
I just didn't care that much. I guess. Didn't stick the landing, I guess.
Well, you didn't see the landing.
Didn't quite take off.
Oh, that's valid. It makes more sense. Anyway, so that's my number 3. I just think it really, I kind of, like I said, I was going back and forth with putting The Bear there, but I think this kind of makes for a more fun list. You'll see kind of when it all comes together. All right, Rachel, your number 2 television show.
I had a really tough time with my second and third spots because I didn't watch a ton. Not that I didn't watch a ton. I did watch quite a few different shows from this year, but yeah, I put Obi-Wan because that was kind of the one that stuck out to me a little bit more. But I feel like I also probably could interchange this with I don't know. I've been really liking. I haven't finished watching it though, so that's why I felt like I couldn't put it on here. But Peripheral
didn't stop Jeremy.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, for me, Obi-Wan and Peripheral were kind of interchangeable, but because I haven't finished Peripheral.
Tell me about Peripheral.
It's just I don't know how to explain it. It's what's the word? It's kind of like a sci-fi type movie, but it involves a lot of almost Avatar use, I guess, or being in you have a body somewhere else that you're controlling.
Oh, weird.
The bodies are controlling.
Yeah, it is very Avatar-esque.
It's in their same world, but a different not a different timeline, but in the future.
Oh, okay.
And there's all this bad shit that has happened in the future that they're trying to figure out, and
so it's time travel and body swapping.
Yeah, it's time travel, but then there's people coming after them in their own time frame, trying to kill them that have been sent kind of back.
Almost like Looper.
Kind of, yeah. It's very Looper like, but I've been liking it so far. But a lot of I don't know. There's some kind of more negative reviews.
Hey, well, it doesn't matter. It's what you liked this year. Who gives a shit what other people are saying?
So far I'm just really liking it, but I said I haven't finished it, so
right,
fair enough. I can. But then Obi-Wan, I have a soft spot for it. So
sure, fair enough.
I know it disappointed some people, but including you.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
I mean, I'm less hard on Obi-Wan. I think I don't know. I liked it. I was happy. I was just happy to be there, is what I'll say. I was happy that it was happening. And happy to watch it.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that content, and I just like being able to see Ewan as Obi-Wan anytime.
100%. I think that in and of itself is worth the price of admission. I mean, spoilers for my list, not really, but it made my disappointment list, and I got another one on there as well. But the reason why, and I think you're right. It totally is awesome for having Ewan back, and his performance, especially in that final episode, is very, very, very good. Yeah, probably one of the best we've seen of really him as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to.
Yeah, and also obviously having Hayden Christensen back is exciting, but it's the problem with Obi-Wan is that it could have been so much better. That's why it's a disappointment for me, because it feels so cheap. It's why didn't Andor, which of course we got to start a counter or a clicker for how many times we're going to reference Andor in any specific episode.
How many times you? Yeah,
I'm sorry. I think about it all the time.
I wonder what's your number one.
Yeah, I know.
But it just does everything that Obi-Wan. I mean, not everything that Obi-Wan's trying to do is done in Andor, but they are able to execute on all their ideas with such precision. And Obi-Wan has some of these really good ideas, but they don't always land.
I would say I'm in agreement with both of you. I think I'm gonna have to throw it at number 2 just because I watched it, but I definitely know what Julian's talking about.
Yeah,
I think it really just boils down to this. Just should have been a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
not what Andor's doing with all these different plots or all these. It's just not. It just would have way better if it was a
Well,
2-hour movie.
I think of that the first encounter with Vader on that like desert planet or whatever, and it's so whatever the opposite of cinematic is what that it feels like. It was shot on an iPhone, and
Yeah, the
it's
action wasn't quite there.
it feels it just felt stilted in that moment specifically, and that was like the first time that Obi-Wan and Vader are facing off again. I'm like, oh, here we
But
go.
then it
It's gonna be
made
exciting.
sense though because of just Obi-Wan's state and
Yes,
what he's been
yeah.
doing.
Sure.
So I like that kind of attention to detail, and then also they kind of try to leave it open for an eventual.
Oh, I think they're gonna do another one. I think
Right.
Ewan is like, I want to be Obi-Wan more.
Yeah,
I think
so it's like this isn't that battle that we never saw. That was the one before we see them again in A New Hope,
right.
right? So they leave it open that there could be another one.
Yeah.
So
But
do
if
you
there
think
wasn't
if they-
another one, it could be that one that was the last
right,
one.
right. So do you think that if they do a Obi-Wan season 2 or Obi-Wan the movie, do you think Vader's in that again? You think they have another contest? Because like, how do you
Yeah,
do that? How do you even do it again?
well, I think
know.
the promotion around this too was a huge highlight just with Hayden
Sure.
Christensen
Yeah,
returning
yeah.
and
Mhm.
just hearing him speak on it, like you could just tell his enthusiasm and passion, and just the second chance nature of this whole thing. And then
He looked like such a
their
sad puppy when he was like, "I'm so happy to be back in Star Wars. Thank you so much for
well, he
having
was,
me."
it's almost like a timid nature
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
also even reflects on the criticism that the
Sure.
prequel trilogy and he took a lot of that hit. So I just think all that stuff was super awesome about this show coming back. Those actors
Sure.
just coming back and getting a second chance.
I think that's a great point. So yeah, I don't begrudge anyone from putting Obi-Wan on their list at all. I just think for me it was just like
No, it's
I couldn't
fair.
justify it knowing how much better it could
But
have
also some super awesome like moments, like
Yeah.
when
100%.
Vader force pulls the ship that was a
Ship out of the
decoy.
sky.
That was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
my jaw was dropped in that moment. That's the type of things
Right.
that I need from Star Wars. Like
Right.
show me that power, basically.
Yeah.
I did love their last showdown too. Like I just.
Well, yeah, the
loved
last
it.
showdown's
Like,
great.
That- yeah, that was-
everyone's
yeah,
just
that's
like
good.
pelting it with those rocks
Yeah.
over and over and over
Right.
again. Just
And
beating the shit out of them. It's
the use of force, like so much of it, it's
Yeah,
like that's exactly what would happen.
Right.
It's just
It's funny also, but like it's I don't know. It's fun. It seems to like that Obi-Wan seemed to put itself in these positions where it had to like do all these gymnastics to make it make sense in the timeline. Like we're gonna knock out Luke for this exact moment so that he can be amazed the first time he saw a lightsaber. Like and all this kind of weird stuff.
which has got to be kind of hard when you're like working in between so many other storylines.
Right. How do you nail all
So,
these things?
Yeah, like you got to make sure you're not, messing anything up that has been said before. So it's got to be kind of difficult trying to dance around that. Whereas like Andor has a little bit more space to.
Well, it's in between stuff too, but
It
not.
is,
but
not
it has more
as
freedom.
much.
It
Yeah,
has
it
more
has a
freedom.
little bit more freedom to move around than maybe some of the like the Obi-Wan content did. But
Well, I mean, to be fair, Andor is only technically set a few years after Obi-Wan. It's like what, 5 years or something like that
yeah,
after Obi-Wan. So, anywho, let's move on. Let's go on to my Jeremy. So you put yours as Obi-Wan for number 2 as well.
Yes.
Okay. So my number 2 is a show from Apple TV. So this will make now 3 years in a row that I've had an Apple TV Plus show on my top 3. In fact, the last 2 years it was number 1, or at least close to number 1. I don't remember exactly. But I had Ted Lasso on my list the last 2 years, and absolutely great show. Friend of the show, Eli and Rochelle, recently started watching it after I was pestering them forever. They love it, so I feel very vindicated.
I hear lots of good things about Ted Lasso. I just don't have the energy.
I don't know.
To have another.
Do you
streaming
feel
service.
like being happy and loving life? Because that's the emotions that Ted Lasso taps into. Severance, on the other hand, which is my number 2 pick, doesn't really tap into those same emotions. In fact, it taps into something much darker. It deals with this kind of like what if scenario of, and I feel like it's like this. Once you say it out loud, it's like your mind starts racing with all the different possibilities. So the conceit of the show is, what if you could separate your mind into your work life and your personal life? And your personal life, you don't remember what you do at work. In your work life, you don't remember what you do at home. And once you start thinking about what that actually means, and the show really does a good job of exploring all the different, like, you know, sometimes you get these kind of high concept idea shows, right? And then they don't really ask the questions or interrogate the conceit enough, and you're kind of like, well, that's not really what I wanted to know. Like, why are we spending all this time on this personal drama when there's all this interesting stuff we could be exploring, right? This does not do that. This show, it has some personal. It obviously it's full of personal drama as well, but it's so perfectly layered. It's the best mystery show I've ever seen, because every episode peels back another layer of something that you thought you understood, and it blows your mind. Every single episode blows your mind. And then the finale is the best season 1 finale of anything I've ever seen. And that's like, it's not even close in my opinion. Like, it's so, the way that it like answers just enough questions, but leaves open doors to new and more interesting questions for the second season. Like, I can't wait for the second season. Like, I cannot wait. And this is why I was thinking about maybe even putting The Bear anywhere between number 2, 3, or 4, and Peacemaker was in that same lot. And then I started thinking about how much I just couldn't stop watching Severance, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. If you're gonna subscribe to Apple TV Plus, do it for Ted Lasso. But then but then watch Severance, because
I do like that main actor. He's in Parks and Rec.
Yes, he is from Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
and it's
So,
Alan
but I'm
Scott.
curious about when you talk about you don't remember anything about your work life. Does that include like people that they work with?
That's right.
So how does that work if you see them in your normal life, you don't
know who they
each
are?
other?
That's right.
Huh, interesting.
What's even crazier is, think about if you're at work, you never leave work. You're the work person. You are always at work. You're never ever not at work. You leave work and then you're right back at work. As far as your mind is aware, right? So what does that mean? Are these people slaves? Like, what does that mean?
That sounds like a nightmare for one person.
And so
for the work person,
right? Exactly. And then so like that's kind of what you start by. The first episode it has this this introduction to the concept by putting you in the shoes of someone who is basically gone through the procedure, and now you are the work person, and you're waking up at work for the first time, and like how terrifying that is as a concept. It's so good, and just like the allegory of like what this means for like how people should treat work-life balance, and how corporations treat their employees, and all these things is just like, it's constantly kind of in the subconscious. It's so good. And again, so you have Adam Scott as the lead, but you have Zach Cherry, who's like an up and coming star in my opinion. You have John Turturro in a very, very good role. He was actually also in The Batman this year, so it was a big year for John Turturro. Christopher Walken playing a very interesting, different type of role that you haven't really seen him do before. Actually, that's not true. He's actually quite similar to the role he played in Click. but that's very small.
Okay.
Do you remember that movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
With Adam Sandler.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sad. That movie is so sad. Patricia Arquette. It's very good. So I cannot.
Interesting. See, I don't have like an office job, so maybe I don't understand.
Oh, you don't need to have an office job.
The difference, because but like with my job, it's a little bit more. I'm a sales rep, so I have to be more social, right?
Yeah.
So like,
it wouldn't work for you.
The entire aspect of part of my job is to like be social and to like know people outside of like my job, right? So I'm like, that would just be so weird that if like you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting concept though, but I get it. What it's
wild.
Getting at is like separating your
but like just even the setting. It's in like, it looks like it's filmed in Fargo or something like that, and it's just like in winter, so it's like gray and white and brown and yeah.
So where we live.
But more sterile somehow. Yeah, it's really something. It's top-notch show. That's my number 2 pick. Okay, Rachel, your number 1 pick.
Well, my number 1 is the same as yours. So
okay,
we want to get Jeremy's
Jeremy,
first?
what's your number 1?
Um, I mean, I have to go with Euphoria season 2.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I
I
fucking
mean,
knew
this
it.
you can't escape it. I mean,
I was going
unbelievable.
through the list of movie or shows from this year, and I was like, really? I mean, like, I feel like it was like a lifetime ago that we were talking about Euphoria.
Yeah, it
season
must have
2.
been January.
Yeah, I think it is.
I need to get on this train of watching Euphoria.
What?
Where
You haven't
is it
seen
on?
any of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
also it's an HBO show.
See, that's why. But yeah,
But you have Crave, I think, with HBO. I think you can watch it. Yeah, because you shouldn't, because Crave
So
sucks.
okay,
Yeah,
we'll get to the
had.
Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Jeremy's got the Blu-ray. Don't worry about it.
I don't even think there
Um,
is one actually, but
I
maybe.
have heard very good things about it though. So and lots of people like it and have watched
It's the
it. So I
best.
feel like I'm out of the loop.
Sell her on Euphoria.
Seller on Euphoria.
Yeah. What's the pitch?
I don't know. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
season 2. Like Zendaya. Do you know who Zendaya is? Like she
Yes, of
won
course,
Best Actress
MJ.
twice back to back.
Isn't Euphoria kind of like okay? There's this like show that I used to stream years and years ago called Skins, and it's kind of similar.
Skins.
It's like I feel like it's British. The first one that
Skins,
came out
2007 to 2013. Okay.
I don't know. It follows a bunch of kids, and it's a gritty high school drama, but like it involves a lot more like serious topics. It's like the drug use and like
Story of a group of British teens who are trying to grow up and find love and happiness despite questionable parenting and teachers who would rather be friends and lovers than authority figures.
Yeah, like so that's what Skins is about, and it's a lot of like really like rough topics, and they go to raves and they get all fucked up. And you know what I mean? Like
Nicholas Hoult? Love Nicholas Hoult. Big fan of Nicholas Hoult. I didn't realize he was in that show.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of thought that Euphoria is similar to. It's like high school stuff, but like not high school. It's a little bit more grittier.
Exactly.
Turns out Nicholas Hoult has had the same haircut since 2007, so that's good to know. All right, Jeremy, go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I think you're kind of spot on there with what it brings to the table, like in terms of its like seriousness. But yeah, just the way they're able to display like the impact of addiction and how that affects like everyone around you. So this notion that basically everyone becomes the victim, and it's like the way they show that and how you feel it from all the extended characters is just it's unbelievable actually. Like it's very affecting. So that's why it's just you can't escape it.
So one thing I always like to ask people who are like, especially for a show that's like from January, is like, how often do you think about this show on a like weekly basis?
I mean,
would you say
Euphoria lingers with you for sure, longer than most, I think. Like there's very powerful scenes, one-shot takes. There's even some musical inspired scenes. There's breaking the fourth wall scenes.
So it's got this. It seems like it has this kind of like heightened realism, or that's not really the word I'm looking for. It's not real in the sense that it's like it's not the real world that we are familiar with. Is that like it's kind of everything's heightened? Is that kind of am I hitting that right, or am I getting this wrong?
I think it's like it's a highlight reel of all real things, kind of, but not like highlights in terms of positive.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like every wrong thing is basically happening, but it's all so real and imaginable, all in one. It's weird. It's just it all interconnects, and like it gets deeper and deeper, and you root for characters, but they could be bad. Like it's just all over the place.
Right. So it's got that kind of like Game of Thrones-esque kind of, we like these bad people, even though that.
But it makes you question for sure.
Right. Or someone you might like does something like bad. What do you do with that? Yeah.
Right. The ending of season 1 is just so incredibly heartbreaking.
Right.
But it's such a powerful ending. And then there's a moment, like there's a scene in season 2 where you as soon as it's over, you're like, how did Zendaya do that? She's going to win all the awards and all and it happened.
I feel like I saw clips of that scene. Is that the one where she's like with her mom and her family and like
it's
a big fight?
Just like her how she recreated that notion of relapsing and just I can't believe she pulled that out of herself.
How is this possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, see, I didn't even know. I didn't have the context on like what that scene was about, and when I saw it, like clips of it, I was like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah,
that's
like
really
her back
intense.
and forth in there is just,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
extraordinary.
That was very good. So yeah, it's definitely a show that's on my list of like actually need to make an effort to watch.
I feel like I want to watch it, but then for whatever reason, there's just something about the way it is like sold or marketed that like really
Presented.
turns
Well,
me
yeah,
off.
I mean,
Yeah.
like Drake's like an executive producer.
Right.
Is it 'cause
There's
it's
a lot
teenagers?
of
Is that why?
like
Yeah, the
hit
teenagers doesn't
songs
help.
throughout.
Oh yeah, so it's kind of
Yeah,
got
but
that, like,
I find that kind of cool that like we get this super serious show, but it like takes us all back to this
high school.
extremely important
Yeah.
time that informs who we are today.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
it's like there's like a sense of comfortability in that I like was so excited to kind of get back into and like watch week to week.
Mm-hmm.
But then just the drama that unfolds is just so nuts.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not necessarily surprised that you picked that. I think
Had
that was
to.
your number one last year as well, was it not?
Yeah.
Or the year before, maybe, because it was 2 years off.
Anytime that show is out, it's most likely number one.
Top of your mind, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that will take us to Rachel and I's number one pick. And Rachel, I'm glad that we're on the same page about this because Andor
Yeah, I could not. It's
is so good. It's so good. Jeremy, I did you watch it or not, or some of it? You
Just a
watched
couple
the first
episodes once again.
couple.
Yeah.
You watched only 2 episodes, and I was like, you missed.
Yeah.
If you don't get to the
No,
third,
I definitely
Yeah.
dug
Yeah.
it for sure. I don't know. I think it may have been the construction worker, Star Wars high vis kind of like it just
You're
looked
like, this is too close to home. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like this.
I
These
think
guys are
there's a
driving
famous
these forklifts.
there's like a super popular like meme worthy critique that like some like Star Wars like fanatic YouTuber
Yeah,
like he's like hating on it on YouTube. He's super popular. I think it's Star Wars Theory is his name.
yeah. He's
And he said something how he saw like bricks and screws or something like that,
Yeah.
and it like just
Oh
like
yeah.
he's like
threw
"That's
him
enough."
off.
People
Yeah.
were
Like I
trolling
don't
him
understand
pretty
that
hard.
one, but like I guess I'm kind of making fun of like the whole construction. I thought it was kind of cool seeing what construction and
Like, was that? Yeah,
like,
what is being a like regular citizen in the
yeah,
Star Wars?
and they had
universe
like
gonna
just
look
weird shaped hard hats and like
yeah.
just things like that. So, yeah,
So what's so funny about that kind of commentary, Jeremy, is because what's so brilliant about the show is that everything is so perfectly weaved, and including the culture of that planet, which is help me remember the name of that planet, Rachel. Anyway,
shouldn't it be Andor?
No, that's the person's name. Anyway, Ferric.
Ferric, yes.
And so Ferrics, yeah. So that like blue collar nature of that planet, which planets, of course, in Star Wars are just one place, right? Well, a planet is one small town.
Yeah.
So, so this planet is comes full circle by the finale and informs and kind of gives context to why characters make certain decisions and why things are important to certain people. And that's just one of a plethora of reasons that I could list for why Andor is so good. I mean, not the least of which being the kind of like the 3-episode arc structure that they use, really, which is obviously not new to Star Wars because Clone Wars did this as well, and I thought to great effect in that series as well. You really get these kind of like basically a movie played out over 3 weeks with a distinct beginning, middle, and end, new characters that they make you care about. Like you think of the prison arc in Andor,
Right.
where you've got Kino Loy, played by what's his name? He voiced, what the heck is this? Kino.
Gollum.
Yes, that's right. He voiced, that's right. Kino Loy played by, what the hell's his name? I can't remember his name now. This is great radio. Anyway, why do I not remember it? Anyway, he is essentially you don't see, by the end of that third arc, you don't see him again. But yet that character is like sticks out as someone, Andy Serkis.
Yes.
I was like, why did I get anyway? Andy Serkis, who returns to Star Wars to play this small part essentially, and the show's designed to set up the character of Andor for the movie Rogue One, right? I mean, that's kind of the original idea. I think it's evolved a lot since then, but it's this origin story for a character that we know when we first meet in Rogue One, murders a rebel in cold blood, and you kind of learn, because when you meet Andor in this series, he kind of like he's just out for himself. He doesn't care. He's truly like he's not a joiner, And by the end of season 1, you start understanding and putting the pieces together, laying the bricks, to understand this character for when you see him again in Rogue One. But through that process, you also get exposed to this kind of like bureaucratic side of the Empire, which we sometimes see kind of the face of, the facade of, the end result of, the deployment of stormtroopers or, whatever. But instead, we actually get to have board meetings with these ISB agents, and it's some of the most gripping stuff you've ever seen. Like this kind of deconstruction of fascism and kind of this what makes a true believer. It's like there's so many layers to the show. That's just one of them. And you got the rebellion side. What does it take to start a rebellion? What does that cost? You kind of get to meet these characters that were behind the scenes of the Rebel Alliance the whole time, and kind of what they had to give up to even get to the place where we saw them in Rogue One or in A New Hope. So it provides all this additional context for Star Wars. Makes the first movie, like, makes A New Hope better, which is, I think, Rogue One did that to some degree already, but this makes, really, any time you see the Empire on screen, it makes you rethink what they're dealing with, what they're thinking about, what the politics, their like work-life politics are.
Yeah.
And like what that means, and like why someone would be attracted to that,
Mm-hmm.
and or why someone would be attracted to a rebellion. It's some of the best performances you've ever seen, and I just I can't praise it enough for every, like, it's the best writing in any Star Wars ever. And I mean, and I think we joked about this when we were recapping it, which was like the bar was not that high.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it had a lot of really great storylines and a lot of new characters and just new ways to look at what was going on at this time in the Star Wars universe. So yeah, I feel like it really added a lot to the expanded kind of universe as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as a storyline and as a show. So yeah, that's why I kind of had to have it as my top one.
Yeah, I mean, like, just so you have Diego Luna, who's very good in this show. But then you have you have Stellan Skarsgård, who is obviously always very good, but he's next level good in this show. Genevieve O'Reilly playing Mon Mothma. You get this whole exploration of Mon Mothma as a character, which I don't think anyone was expecting, and it's so good. It's this kind of tortured facade that she has to put on all the time to kind of even get to the point where we see her in Rogue One, living amongst these terrible people. And then you kind of have this, like, you kind of get to see the stark contrast between the have-nots in the Empire. You got, Anton Lesser, who plays an Imperial you might recognize from Game of Thrones, playing another very creepy character here. The list goes on. What's her name? Who's Andor's mom? Who plays Andor's mom? Do you remember?
Oh,
she's from Harry Potter. She's been in lots of stuff, but she is so good. Yeah, Marva. Marva. Oh my god. I went too far.
What are you doing?
Oh my god, really? What? Okay, she's not listed here. For some reason, Marva Andor. What are we looking for? I was searching on Marva Andor. Here we go. Fiona Shaw.
Yes.
And she's also, like, she has this final speech post. I won't spoil anything, but she has this final speech, and in the finale, and it's like, to me, it's like one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars ever. And so I can't actually the whole leading up to that speech and everything. Like, I just really loved this show. And of course, like, we always talk about how Star Wars seems to always find its way to the top of my lists. But these are my lists. Like, it's my list and it's your list, and it's like who we are. And we are we're not objective. We are subjective, right? And we are biased. So, I'm not ashamed. I regret nothing.
No.
In the immortal words of Teo, the racing droid. So that's Andor for our number 1 picks. So it is Andor, Severance, Peacemaker for myself. Andor, Obi-Wan, Rings of Power for Rachel. It is Euphoria. It is Obi-Wan and The Bear for Jeremy. So any honorable mentions that you guys would like to make at this time?
Yeah, I think mine, like, I have Wednesday and Tales of the Jedi on mine. I enjoyed those shows. I also, like, as dumb as it is, the Will Arnett show Murderville.
Yeah, Murderville is so weird. I find it very...
I found it really, really funny.
Did you watch the Christmas one?
Yes.
Yeah, the Christmas one, because, I mean, it's got... it brings back Jason Bateman for that.
Yeah, and it just, like, I don't know, the fact that it's all improv on, like, the one half is pretty funny, so I enjoyed the concept of that show.
I just find that it really... I feel like I love improv, right? But I find that the show... because so much of it is scripted and they're trying to like lead you down a path,
right?
That it kind of limits their ability to be funny. And I also find
yes and no. I like the awkwardness though.
It's so awkward.
It is really awkward.
And I really have a hard time with that.
I love it.
I hate awkward comedy. And
see, I like it. Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
it makes it extra funny for me.
But like, I also find it weird that they're playing themselves. So it's like Jason Bateman is the actor Jason Bateman, but he's now this character, Will Arnett's character's, new.
They have Marshawn Lynch too.
Yeah,
It's just so funny. It's so good. But...
So I think Murderville is a funny choice. I've seen episodes. The conceit was enough to get me to watch a couple episodes. The one I liked with Conan O'Brien, I think, is Conan's was really funny.
Yeah.
But
I just found it just mindless and very entertaining.
Well, and then Maya Rudolph is also in the Christmas episode, and I love Maya Rudolph, and she totally throws a wrench into the whole thing. Okay, so anything you want to say about Tales of the Jedi and Wednesday?
Not really. No, they're just shows that I enjoyed, and like the Tales of the Jedi was just really good for like an animated shorts. It was, for me, it's hard to think of that as like a show.
It's more like
a show.
It's more like Tales of Count Dooku.
Yeah, well,
but that's okay.
But I liked that content and those little extra bits.
Yeah, it's just more Star Wars animation, which we're getting a lot of. We're in fact. Small plug, we are covering The Bad Batch right now.
Yes, we are.
And The Bad Batch Season 1, which is on my honorable mentions list, is top-notch Star Wars animation, especially the first, the premiere episode, as well as there's a couple episodes in the middle and the finale that are like particularly great, but I think the whole season is good. The Lucasfilm Animation Studio is just hit a stride. I want to bring this up all the time. If you have the opportunity, look up a clip from Clone Wars Season 1 or from the movie, and then go look at anything from the last season of Clone Wars or Bad Batch or Tales of the Jedi, and it's like a completely different genre. It's a whole different medium, basically. So, it's gorgeous to look at. What is it about Wednesday that's so good? Why do people like Wednesday?
I don't know. Like, it's just a fun, quirky little cute show. Like, and I really like that actress. I don't know what just drew me. I don't know. I just like her. I was just immediately like, she's super cool. I
was trying to think of her name.
Jenna Ortega. Yeah, like she's just so good. And it's like I grew up with Addams Family. I always really liked it growing up. And yeah, I just feel like she adds like a good kind of fresh take. Not a fresh take.
Who plays her dad? It's like
Luis
Guzman.
Yeah.
Yes, I always like Luis Guzman.
Yeah, he's good too. I mean, like they're not in it like a ton, but it's I don't know. It's just a fun
Netflix show, which is good because they need those because people will be canceling the Netflix soon. We'll talk about that.
But no, I really liked her performance in it. I thought she was very good.
Is it the dance especially that does it for you? Her fun dance?
I know that blew up. I don't know.
It's a TikTok thing. It's a TikTok thing.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I thought she was very good in it, and she just added a really new kind of take onto the character.
Sure.
But
I'm just not
Christina Ricci's in there too, and she was the original.
Right.
Wednesday
Okay, that's
too.
fun. Does she play the
fun.
principal or something?
No, she plays the she's like a gardening professor, kind of herbology professor.
Botany.
Botany, something like that. But it's just
okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough. It seems it was a massive hit for them, so I could find
like it wasn't to me. It wasn't like mind blowing. It wasn't anything that was I'm not gonna go tell people you have to watch it. I just like.
Well, my girlfriend is telling me that I have to watch it.
It's
so.
good. I'm surprised you didn't watch it with her. It's weird that she's watching things without you.
Well,
I was like, I have to. You're watching so much.
I'm recording podcasts. I'm recording podcasts.
All
and
his
answering emails.
Yeah.
Here's what I got on my honorable mentions list. I've got Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. This is a new Star Trek series that is a prequel to the original Star Trek series with Kirk and everyone, and it has a Anson Mount plays Captain Pike. Captain, yeah, he also plays Backbolt. But he plays Captain Pike, which is the canonical captain who is the captain of the Enterprise before James T. Kirk. And it is extremely modern in its visuals, but it's very traditional in its Star Trek storytelling. It's mission of the week stuff. It's very progressive, very kind of high concept stuff. It's very fun. It's very bright and colorful and whimsical. And it is the kind of like this type of Star Trek that Star Trek has been missing basically since I guess you could mean Enterprise maybe, but basically since like the network shows. And I really, really liked it, and I'm really excited for the second season. We kind of have an idea of where it ends, but I have a suspicion that they'll do a little swerve and they'll do something interesting to kind of make it work with the timeline. Then of course I also have Only Murders in the Building season 2, which I don't know if you guys have seen Only Murders in the Building, but
I feel like I tried to watch it and then I just couldn't get into it. I don't know
really?
What it was. Maybe like the very first season it was very slow.
Do you not like Martin Short and Steve Martin?
I mean, I don't really care about Steve Martin that much.
Really? You're more of a Martin Short person.
I'm like
wow. What about Selena Gomez?
Yeah, I don't know. It must have just been from the first episode was too slow, and maybe I just was a bit too heavy of my ADHD state to not pay attention to it enough.
I find it very charming because it's basically a vehicle for Martin Short and Steve Martin to like hang out and basically play themselves to some degree. It really feels like that, and they make it seem so effortless, which is why it's so impressive to me. And Selena Gomez is just like a nice, like,
I wonder
she's
if
like
I'm mixing this up with something.
Maybe, but she's like this like rogue element that you throw into this thing you really know, right? Like I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but like imagine a meal that you're very familiar with. You love like a classic turkey dinner or something like that.
Okay.
Right? And that's Steve Martin and Martin Short. But then you go to somewhere and it's like a fancy restaurant and they like throw a twist on that. It's like the turkey dinner, but instead of cranberry sauce, it's like some sort of like Asian slaw sandwich thing or something like that. And it's like, and then you're skeptical at first, but then when you have it, you're like, holy shit, these things that don't seem like they would fit together totally do, and it makes it for a kind of like greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
That's what this show is to me. It is effortlessly funny because you have two of the funniest people on the planet in Steve Martin and Martin Short. Now,
and see, what streaming service is
this on? This is a Hulu show, but you can watch it on Disney Plus here in Canada.
Okay, so it must have been on. Yeah, I think, maybe I'll have to give it another chance. I think I just couldn't get into it at the beginning when they're all showing up to the hotel. Do they all show up at the hotel?
It's not a hotel. They live in it's a fancy apartment building, condo building in New York.
Okay, I'm thinking of something different. And it involves a bunch of people showing up to a hotel at the same time, and I was like, this is boring, and I turned it off.
Are you thinking of The After Party or something like that? Maybe that?
Know.
Anyway.
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
This, if you're a fan of like true crime podcasts, the whole conceit of are you?
Yeah.
Really? Because in this show, the name of the show is also the name of the podcast. They're doing a podcast about the murder that happens in their building.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
So
I should give it a chance.
Yeah, and they somehow manage, like they weave this really intricate plot, and it's got some stylized realism thrown in there, and it's got this like awkward, like I'm an old man but I'm trying to be hip type of kind of charming flavor that Steve Martin brings to the table. And I just think it's delightful. It's very fun. And then the second season manages to be just as funny somehow as the first, despite the conceit would be, you'd think, what are the chances that they could do this again? But they've set up a third season, so in the final season, which also might be, well, I think Steve Martin said he's retiring from acting after the third season.
Oh, okay then.
So, if you like Steve Martin and you have a soft spot in your heart for him, I would say watch the show because it might be the last time you get to see him. Yeah. Big fan of Only Murders in the Building. This is a show I watched with my girlfriend, and we both very much enjoy it.
Okay, fair enough.
And then my last disappointment, I'll just be very quick on this one, which is Star Trek Picard Season 2. The first season of Star Trek Picard was not good. The second season of Star Trek Picard was somehow worse. Now, they're teasing the third season of Star Trek Picard as being kind of like a reunion, kind of like the Next Generation reunion. Essentially, they're bringing back Worf and everyone, Geordi, everybody. Everyone's coming back, right? Number one, the rest, the etc. They're all coming back, and it's going to be like this big final hurrah. And to be honest, that sounds way better than everything we've gotten so far, and a shame because it sounds like it probably should have been what it was from the beginning. So, I would say if you're interested at all, if you like Jean-Luc Picard as a character, don't watch the first two seasons. Just wait till this third season, and I'll tell you if the third one's good at all. That's how I feel about that. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, refill our water, and we will be back to do our movies of the year. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're going to be talking about our favorite films of the year. I should ask Jeremy, did you have any honorable mention TV shows before we move on to that?
Not really, because I didn't really watch much, but
yeah.
I do want to give like Severance, Barry, Atlanta, like those shows a chance at some point. Hear good things.
I also want to start Atlanta. I feel like that's something that I would jibe with. All right, let's get into our movies, and I think this will be a little bit easier, but we'll see. So here's some of the movies that you may have seen from the year 2022: Glass Onion, Bullet Train, Black Adam, Smile, Top Gun Maverick, Nope, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, The Northman, Prey, The Lost City, Death on the Nile, Jurassic World Dominion, The Woman King, The Batman, Uncharted, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Morbius, it's Morbin time, Pinocchio, Sea Beast, Lightyear, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Thor: Love and Thunder, Avatar: The Way of Water. There was others, but those were the big ones. Right. And surprisingly, way more shows on that list. Hey, movies are still trying to claw their way back from the COVID times, so they're not as well off.
That's true. I definitely didn't see as many movies in theater. I'm still not back up to where my pre-COVID theater movie watching was.
I would say I'm at or near. I'm not maybe slightly below. I was, because I think at one point before COVID, I was seeing a movie in theaters at least once a month, and if not more during the summer. But now it's lower than that now. Jeremy, how many movies you see this year in theaters?
I don't know. Probably
handful.
At least 5, 4.
Yeah,
something like that.
The big ones, right?
Yeah.
And then I think did you see Top Gun twice?
No, just once.
You see Avatar twice?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Maybe a clue for later. We'll see. All right, Rachel, would you like to go first with your number 3?
Yeah, what was my... Oh, I had Glass Onion. I watched that on Netflix.
It's good, eh?
I really liked it, yeah. It's... Okay, is it similar to... There was another one that was very similar
Knives
to...
Out?
Knives Out,
yes. It's a sequel to Knives Out.
Is it? But
it's called Glass Out, Glass Onion, a
Knives Out story.
But it's not the same people.
It's a different
one person's
cast, but the main character is the same.
The main, like the detective guy. Yeah, yes, but to me, I was just like, that's not really...
They're trying to make it a franchise because it's like a known... It was popular when the first one came out.
The director is not... Ryan Johnson...
He doesn't want to.
He doesn't like that title. Yeah. He doesn't like that.
So I guess it was Netflix telling him to do it.
Yeah. Well, they paid him a lot of money.
But you want that brand, right? So that brand recognition.
Yeah, but what is the next one called? Is it called a Glass Onion story?
Yeah.
I don't
know. What I can't remember that actor's or not the character's name. Whatever, a detective something story.
Benoit Blanc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Knives Out is pretty a pretty apt like description of like kind of what the story is about.
The first.
Well, it's always just people like out for each other, right, or something like that.
I mean,
right.
So far,
they're hiding things, but like it's out.
It's a mystery story.
Yeah.
It's a classic murder mystery.
Yeah, and I really like those kind of shows, movies, books, all that kind of stuff. So I had really like a lot of fun watching it. And man, I like anything so far that has what's his name? The big guy.
Oh, Batista.
He's so good.
Yeah. Dave Batista.
Everything he does.
Did you hear his? So after this movie, he was doing his press tour or whatever, and he's talking about. He basically he's like he's a former wrestler turned actor, right?
Yeah.
Just like The Rock, and The Rock obviously the biggest celebrity maybe right now, and he was basically saying how he has no interest in doing what The Rock is doing, and he's so funny. He throws The Rock right under the bus, kind of either intentionally or not intentionally. But he says basically, he's like, I actually want to be a good actor.
Well, okay, that's what I was gonna say. He's not like overly cheesy. I think he's actually like quite a good actor.
Yeah, he's very good.
He picks roles that are really good for him. I do want to see that new scary movie that he's in. Something with the cabin in the woods or a knock in the cabin.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That looks weird.
It looks terrifying, and I'm just like I'm such a little baby when it comes to scary movies, but I do want to watch it because it looks like it's the
M. Night it's the next M. Night Shyamalan movie.
It is.
Yes, it is.
So I do want to see that one, but I just think he's so good, and I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was a good.
Have you seen Army of the Dead?
No.
He's also good in that.
No, I have not.
Have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
I have.
He's good in that too.
Yes.
He's a small role in that.
Yeah, but no, I enjoy him. I don't know.
I think that's totally fair to call out.
I enjoyed like the cast in general and the story and like everything.
The cast is so good.
Quite good. Yeah.
The cast in the first movie is great, and then like the whole at this point now, I mean, Rian Johnson has kind of carved out this.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. This kind of piece of Hollywood that he's very content. He likes making these movies. He's a big Agatha Christie fan. He's basically trying to make Agatha Christie stories, and he's doing a great job of it. And I was very lucky because this movie came out in very limited release in theaters.
I never saw it in theaters. I watched it.
I don't think it was even available in theaters here.
Oh, okay.
And I was in Sydney at the time, and I got to see it at an old Art Deco style movie theater, and it was super cool. I was so glad I got to see it there. They did this little like with the lights before, and then there's a curtain like revealed the screen and everything. Yeah, it was wild. And it was really a perfect setting for this movie, and I loved it. I thought it was I don't think it was like, it's not a top movie for me this year, but it's super enjoyable. There's something about Daniel Craig and this like foghorn leghorn accent he's putting on. It's just so funny to me. That there are some, you don't trifle with an anonymous invitation. It's like there's just some of these these lines are just so, I guess, I don't know, ridiculous that it just makes it so for such this like over the top fun experience. And of course, then you layer on all of the the rest of the characters in it, and I especially like the villain played by Edward Norton. Well, I think I don't know if that's a spoiler, to be honest.
No, it's not really. He's he's the guy who invites everyone there. Like he's kind of like the whatever.
It's pretty clear that he's the antagonist from very early on.
Yeah, but it's very good. But yeah, don't spoil it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's lots of things that I couldn't spoil even if I tried. But it's also like it's set on a Greek island in the summer, and it's like very beautiful,
and it's just super rich people, like bored rich people.
Yeah,
and kind of making fun of like the things that a bored rich people would do.
Yeah, Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Henwick, Edward Norton, Daniel Craig.
Photo of Dave Bautista. IMDb users. That's really funny.
It's wild. I mean, it's just a really Hugh Grant makes an appearance in this movie. It's a cameo appearance.
Does he?
Yes, he does. Also, Serena Williams also makes a cameo appearance, which is always also fun. I just really think Rian Johnson is a very special talent in Hollywood, and I think it's a shame that he got chased out of Star Wars.
Star Wars,
I think it's a shame.
But I get why maybe it wouldn't make everybody's top 3. Like I said, I told Julian earlier, I only watched 8 movies that came out in 2022 this year. So
that's still quite good.
It's better than it was.
I think a lot of people watch like less than 5.
I think last year when we did this, I just picked my top 3 movies that I watched in general.
Just like these were the 3 movies I watched in no particular order
this year. Not that they came out this year. I think that's what I had to do because I had watched so few that had actually came out in 2021. So I was better this year.
Also, the other thing I think about with this movie is like rich people dress very oddly, and I just don't feel like I could ever be. I mean, maybe I could.
But it's like a group of friends, right?
Yeah, so they're all
what
like
an odd
friends.
eclectic group of friends that I don't know would ever exist.
Jeremy, you should if you haven't seen it, I think it's on Netflix.
Oh, I watched a little bit. Then I like the first movie. I fell asleep.
Yeah, you fell asleep in the theater in the first movie. So, do you have an edible before you watch that movie too?
No, I just sometimes when you try to watch a movie on a Friday night, it just doesn't. You just don't have those energy levels.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
That happened with me with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No.
I know, and I really want to finish watching it because I was hoping to put it on my list, but I only got about halfway through.
That's almost why I like leave. Like I don't like dive into certain things because I feel like
you're gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry that this happens to you. Mm-hmm. Although I got to be honest, I did fall asleep.
You fall asleep too all the time. I have a video of you falling asleep in front of your TV.
I have fallen asleep. In fact, recently in front of my TV, and it'll come up in conversation soon. Well, it's a little spoiler. All right, so that's your number 3 film. Great pick, Jeremy. Your number 3. Do you want me to go next?
It doesn't matter.
All right, you go ahead.
it's gonna be the Batman.
Ooh, okay, so good transition, good segue, because this is the movie I just fell asleep watching.
Oh my God,
Dude.
You finally put in your 4K disc and you fell asleep to it.
Yes, I was like, here we go, 4K disc. I'm like, and by the way, it does look absolutely stunning in 4K. It's the movie's so dark that on a OLED TV, having the 4K like really makes the scenes pop.
Okay, no, yeah. I'm gonna just interject in that we have the technology to shoot movies and make them look dark, but still be able to see them, and that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, you can. You have an OLED with 4K.
No, it's bullshit. It's like, it annoys me when things, because isn't that like what everyone was complaining about House of Dragon this year, about how dark it was?
Yes.
And it's like, we have seen there's so many ways cinematically to do this to show it that it's dark outside but still be able to see things.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Well, it does come down to the resolution and the color availability of what you're viewing it on. It's like phone cameras. Like now you can take a picture at nighttime and you can see everything.
Right.
Yes. But I'm like, man, like I don't want to have to buy a new TV every.
Oh, but
that's
the thing. If you don't have an OLED.
But that is why Julian always likes to mention it, because it further it continually justifies the purchase.
Yes.
That he made.
Years ago, and I was like, I'm making an investment in my own entertainment, and I will not look back, and I have no regrets. I've now paid off that TV years ago, and I love it. And Jeremy recently got one. And
I know I've made fun of you over this for years, but it's like this weird. Once you have this thing, it's from edge to edge.
Yes,
the consistency of like perfection is always within it, so you feel like you're getting the highest, purest form of what was intended.
It makes some movies that you see in the theaters bullshit, because you're like, it should be brighter and colorful, more colorful than this. It like, seriously, when you go see, I mean, I'm gonna look forward to seeing Avatar: The Way of Water on my TV, because the colors.
Even the first
I did recently see it. I actually did see it in HRV, that high rate. Is it HRV? I think that's the short for it, but it's like the high.
I think that looked odd, actually, because there's certain sequences.
Really weird.
It's like, what are we seeing right now?
It looks like a video game.
It's hard to explain, though.
Yeah. It looks really cool in some moments, but then other times you're like, and also it's weird because they like intercut regular like 24 frames with.
It's pretty seamless, though, I think.
But it's like back and forth, so you'll go.
But when it is happening, it's usually like a high action sequence, or like when they're flying or whatever.
Typically.
But then I find the sound is so good that it can mask what you see too.
But I mean, what I'm saying is that like I think that the HRV screen that I saw it on, which was like the brand new AVX screen at the new theater in Kildonan Park.
Yeah, same here for my second.
Is I think HDR. I'm not sure for sure.
The sound in that theater was incredible. It was
very good.
Rumbling throughout the seats.
I'm impressed.
Feel it.
Yeah, I am impressed. But
it smells like a new car in there rather than like a dirty old theater.
Well, that won't last forever.
See, I'm partial to the Grant Park Theater because they have the really big, comfy chairs, but there's only like 24 of them, or 25 in the whole theater.
That's right.
So it's like
it's hard to get a
seat there.
And this new one at KP, it has a little like swivel table that you can put in front of you.
Do they still have those? Like, remember those chairs that would like move?
Yes,
shake?
the D-box.
Yeah, that still exists. Yeah.
It's some of them. Yeah, I was curious.
They installed brand new ones at that KP theater.
Oh, did they?
But also, this AVX theater at KP has reclined seats like Grand Park. They just don't go back all the way, but your feet go all the way up.
Yes. So comfy.
I did find that it didn't recline quite enough at the new.
No, yeah, like your upper body doesn't go back as far at Grand Park, but your feet, like your legs, can go pretty high up.
Funny visual to think about, but yeah. Okay, so Jeremy, you picked the Batman.
Is this the new one with what's his name?
Yes.
What's his name?
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. Yes.
Yes.
Is he like he's good in it though? I need to ask because.
Yeah, I mean that was the question going into it. He was just kind of labeled as the Twilight guy, but
that's
like
what I mean.
If you're like if you're a film buff or whatever, like you know that for the ever since then, which was probably over 10 years ago for sure. He did like so many movies, and they were all like movies that he wanted to. They weren't like these huge attractions or huge paychecks.
Yeah.
Just very artsy movies.
Yes. Okay.
So I think we were pretty excited to see his take, and coming out of it, it's pretty unanimously positive, I would say.
It's a great movie,
and it's a different take on Bruce Wayne himself too, right? Like
he's
a little bit. There's more
recluse,
inspiration. Like the director, he has inspiration from like Nirvana, because one of the songs like plays heavily and is like pretty thematic. So Kurt Cobain is kind of a reference here.
Yeah, and his jawline is perfect for Batman.
Right.
Like
correct.
It just and like the decision to add this little like collar to the cape really makes it look way less dumb. Like in real live action.
His armor have nipples though?
It doesn't. In fact, it has. In fact, this is a controversial aspect. His bat logo on his chest is made up of the gun that killed his parents.
It's like, no, it's not.
What?
No, it's. I thought it was.
No, that is what people theorize, but in the movie he just like takes it out and it's just like it's like a sharp batarang or something.
Yeah, okay, it's like a all right.
But that is an actual thing that I believe Kevin Smith wrote that in a Batman comic.
Right.
He
it's
utilized
a cool
that.
Idea.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, like the movie is it's the first time we've got to see Batman be a true detective.
Right.
And
work with Commissioner Gordon, which is very cool. And just like real cinematic quality in terms of its visuals and its patience and scenes and characters. Like it's just the total opposite of an MCU movie, I would say.
Yeah, it is. In fact, like I said, I fell asleep. It got a little slow in the middle and I fell asleep.
So that is the one critique that people have said since the beginning. Like I had a friend at work who went and said he fell asleep right away.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's because like it is dark and it is quite like dramatic in the middle that, if you are a little sleepy, it could put you.
And it's over 2.5 hours, I believe.
It's not short.
Yeah. Our attention spans are not getting better as we get
and
older.
Movies get longer, but somehow the movies just keep getting longer.
I would say, like, I think I would speak to Julian's experience too. Our first viewing, I think we were just hooked and just wanted more the entire time because it's something that's so close to us that is being done in a new way, kind of. Even though there's so many similarities to the Dark Knight trilogy, you can kind of pull up. But it almost deviates a lot in certain aspects, like how the Riddler is portrayed. A lot of the characters are inspired by real life or just other figures, and the Zodiac.
It's kind of like the
Zodiac,
for the Riddler. Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Also, you have to give a shout out to Colin Farrell's Penguin, who is unrecognizable. He does not look anything like Colin Farrell, who's one of the best looking people you might ever see.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I'm used to the Penguin being literally Danny DeVito.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's who I picture.
They put him. He's got a lot of cosmetic,
I'm sure he does.
Prosthetics on, but he's so good. He's getting his own spin-off show. They're doing a Penguin spin-off show set in the same world as this movie, and like.
Does he still have penguin flippers?
No, he doesn't have penguin flipper fingers. That was always dumb. That was always stupid. Jeffrey Wright's Gordon is, I think, very likable in this movie. I saw a poll. There was a poll on Twitter the other day. When isn't there a poll on Twitter? But it was pick your favorite. Who's your favorite Gordon in like live action James Gordon? And I think I ultimately picked the Dark Knight version just because he had so much. He was like so intricate.
We had 3 movies with him too.
Yeah.
And what's the actor's name?
Gary Oldman is one of the best
legendary.
actors alive. Yeah. So it's hard to beat that, but I think Jeffrey Wright's off to a very good start, and he's a close second, I think.
It's like, Andy Serkis is in this too.
He's Alfred.
Yeah.
And he's actually very good Alfred, I think.
Good start as well.
Kind of rough around the edges. Yeah. And then you can't forget to mention Zoe Kravitz, Selena Kyle, who kind of steals the show a little bit when she's introduced. Like, she is one of the best looking people in the world. It's unbelievable. And I really love
cheekbones.
Well, and those boots. I tell you what. But there is just like her version of Catwoman. It's just like very much true to life cat burglar. I mean, I don't know what true to life cat burglar is, but just feels just like the movie is very grounded. but believable as someone who could go toe to toe with Batman and kind of be that kind of like 1A, to him. So and like the way they kind of establish the beginnings of what could be a very interesting and relationship and dynamic between them over multiple movies, if they choose to go that way, very interesting. It's a very good movie. I can't and I you know what, Robert Pattinson's Batman voice, best one yet, right? I mean, I don't think that's a controversial thing to say.
Have to give it a chance then, I guess.
I think you should. All right, great pick, Jeremy. Great pick. So we're off to a great start here. My number 3 is a movie that's already been mentioned here today. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Nice. And this is topping people's best of lists for the year.
Like, don't spoil it for me because I only made it halfway through.
I don't think I could. I don't think I can. Like, I don't think there's a Jeremy. Could you? Could you even say? I mean, don't say it. But like, I don't think there is a way to spoil this movie. Honestly, I don't think so.
Well, people just describe it as like a multiverse movie, right?
I mean, it is
like of oneself. I
I
haven't seen it yet though. Just to I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Okay. No. Yeah.
So I think it's on Amazon Prime right now.
It is. Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, you guys need to see this movie. It is.
It was so good. I just I think I fell asleep. I'm a tired girl.
It's
these
fair.
days.
I mean, there is a moment where it gets very quiet. Maybe that's when you fell asleep. But I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once is kind of a movie. Just like its name, it's got everything. It's got this family drama. It's got this personal like exploration of the oneself. It's got dynamics of what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to be a daughter, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a parent. Like all these things are explored through the lens of this very wacky multiverse story. I think the one thing I will spoil, which is quite funny, and you might have seen it already in trailers and stuff, is that in one version of the multiverse, everyone has hot dogs for fingers.
Oh, yes. I did get up to that point, yeah. I think it's actually right around there that I fell asleep, like very close right after that. I think it's because there was so much wackiness going on that I was just kind of like, couldn't pay attention.
Yeah, and then I think the one thing that's so good about it is that Michelle Yeoh is someone that I think we've seen around. She's been a part of our movie going history for forever. It feels like she's a Bond girl. So she really brings it in this movie.
Didn't she win Best Actress recently for it in something?
I'm sure she probably did. Let's see here. That's got some nominated for 10 BAFTAs, 240 wins, 351 nominations total so far. And that Oscar noms aren't even out yet. BAFTAs, Screen Actors Guild.
Maybe a Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah, we're kind of like. I mean, who knows? I could go. Way too. There's way too many in here. But the point being that this movie, and it's like hard to describe. I mean, this is the log line. A middle-aged Chinese immigrant is swept into an insane adventure in which she alone can save existence by exploring another universe and connecting with the lives she could have led. And each time we get to kind of experience these other lives, it's more ridiculous than the last.
Right.
But yet so focused in its emotional messaging, like its core heart is so obvious. It's on the screen and you can see it, and everything kind of centers around that. And it totally works. So the other thing that's really fun about this movie is that you have I'm trying to remember what the actor's name is, but the little kid from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom returns to acting in this movie and is great. He's like really, really, really great. He's obviously much older than he was. Hui Kwan, I think. And I'm sure
he's been winning awards too this award season. For this
this movie is gonna be cleaning up.
Yeah, she won a Golden Globe. That's what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So did he.
And I think they all just. I mean, this movie deserves all the awards. It's very, very good. I remember I came out of this movie and I thought this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it was. I wanted to go see it again. I think I wanted to see it again before we did this to just kind of like really take the temperature on it. So I went and I watched Avatar again, and I watched Batman again, and I wanted to see more movies again before I kind of made my picks, but I didn't get through all of them. And ultimately, it was a while ago that this movie came out, but it's stuck around. It was on the top of a lot of people's lists. Not that that's why I picked it here. It just, I've never seen a movie like this before. I've never seen. I mean, I have in the sense that we've seen multiverse movies before, but not done like this.
No, this is a very different take.
Yeah.
It was very cool. Just from like the first, I don't know. I think I watched the first hour of this movie, maybe.
Like in theaters, and then fell asleep, or at home?
No, at home.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a very different take on the coming almost in and out of different multiverses, especially in the beginning of it.
Right, and then it kind of just addresses this whole the kind of the question that we all have, which is like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we fucking here for? That it kind of tackles that in a very abstract way, and it's just again very touching of a movie. Like, it really plucks the heartstrings in an interesting way. So that's Everything Everywhere All at Once. I very much recommend you watch this movie, especially before award season, which we're in now, because I think again this movie's going to do very well. I think at awards. It already has at the Golden Globes, although I don't think people really care about Golden Globes, to be honest.
Oh yeah. What is that voted on? Who votes?
The Golden Globes are the International Film Critics Association or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hollywood Foreign Press, I think is what they're called. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, like there was just some pretty good acceptance speeches, I believe. Like that's all I kind of saw like on social media. And there was a Critics Awards ceremony too, and I think Brendan Fraser won and had a pretty powerful
for the
speech.
whale.
Yeah. He's like crying and screaming. It's nuts.
Oh.
That's good.
He's if you could just get to your feet and go towards the light. Like it's like this crazy whole like
wild
emotional thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think what's great about this whole kind of like return to the spotlight for Brendan Fraser is that like everyone's rooting for him.
Yeah.
It's very heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
And personally speaking, I get to talk about Bedazzled more, which is a movie that I love. I love that movie. I don't know why or what
or
about
Airheads.
Yeah.
And you hear that he's like I was like, he's like, I'm down for the Mummy 4, like bring it on. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, do that. Absolutely. I would watch that. I'd be there
too.
day one in movie.
Yeah, I love that first movie.
It's so good.
The first one's so good.
Yeah. The second one's good too, to be honest. I don't really remember the third, but
no.
No one does, but that's okay. Okay, so that was my number 3. All right, yes. Rachel, you're number 2.
I have Prey.
Sorry,
cool.
That's a great pick for number 2. I wanted to start laughing because I said number 2 like I was Austin Powers.
Oh my god!
Austin Powers. You're number 2.
Dr. Evil.
Yeah, Dr. Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I have Prey. Again, this is I didn't watch a ton of 2022 movies,
but you watched some good ones. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I really liked this one, and I'm not that I'm overly like I have watched all the other.
You're no Predator head.
Predator. Yeah, I've watched all the other Predator movies, but I just really liked this whole the way they told this story. I thought it was really well done and really cool, and just a very different.
It's my favorite Predator
view.
movie.
Yeah, me too. I was just it was so cool and so good, and yeah, I don't know. I love seeing a super badass, strong like female character, and it's just nice to see. I don't know.
That's
fair.
fair.
Gets me, but in a Predator movie, it was like especially cool, and
maybe there's a theme there with this strong female character idea. We'll see.
Yeah. But I was like, man, it's like pretty badass, and I don't know. I ended up watching some of the old Predator movies after and was just like howling laughing because they're so funny. Like they're pretty bad watching. If you go from watching Prey and then you watch like the first Predator movie, it's like hilarious.
Oh well, the first one's good too. I mean,
it's just like the CGI is obviously like so bad because it's
right.
Like, when he's all invisible and stuff, and you're like,
okay,
it's really funny, but yeah, no, it brought up really good memories of kind of like watching the old like Alien and Predator movies and Alien versus Predator. I watched all those with my brothers.
AVP is a very underrated movie in my opinion. I think it's very fun. I always liked
that movie, and I mean that's what I mean. I watched a lot of those growing up with my older brothers, so I don't know. This one was just so good and just so well written and well done. I enjoyed it a lot.
it's a really fucking good movie. I really like it. I think it looks really good. I think it's paced really well. I think the way that it teases and introduces the Predator as being a predator in the truest sense, because it's and the way it kind of like starts by taking out the more and more dangerous prey
and
over
he
time.
Slowly adapts to he has all these crazy gadgets, but he doesn't use them. Like he always kind of matches strengths, right?
Yep.
So I really liked seeing that aspect of it. You know, when he's fighting the bear, he's not.
Oh, the bear scene is so cool.
It's so good.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
and then they're like their use of like the I guess the trappers or the what would you call them, the Frenchmen, just like as this kind of like side story piece. It really kind of, it almost has, they kind of play the same role, although you don't really in the first movie you have like, Jeremy, what are they, the mercenaries or whatever that are
mercenaries.
No, the people in like the people that lived in the jungle. I guess they're like guerrilla warfare. It's unclear
warfare,
it's unclear. They're just kind of like nameless bad guys. But in this, it's kind of like they play that same role, but it's much more fleshed out.
Yes.
They're also shitty, so you're not upset.
Oh, they're bad guys.
You're not upset when the predator is killing them, which makes watching the predator kill them way more exciting.
Yeah.
I love Jeremy. I know you also really dug Prey. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just thought it was a return to form for that franchise, if you want to call it that. Because
so you didn't like Predator. The Predator?
No, I mean everything that kind of came out after the first one. Well, maybe I guess the first two.
The second is okay,
yeah. Just kind of fell flat. This one just really honed in on what made the original good. It fleshed out kind of what the Predator is all about. We got to see those little battles with just different creatures, obviously, and it just felt like a very imposing, mysterious threat throughout the whole thing, which is kind of what it's all about. And then just the human character kind of just figured out and somehow getting the upper hand and defeating the Predator. So it was cool. I liked it a lot.
And the director, who is Dan Trachtenberg, is a director that like he kind of has an origin story that like starts on a podcast basically, and then like made his way into Hollywood, and it's very cool. So I root for anything that he's kind of making. I think it's a very fun movie, and a absolutely great pick because it is on my honorable mentions. Okay. My number, or Jeremy, your number two? Your number two.
Yeah.
Number two, it's going to be Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. Great pick, Jeremy. Tell me why it's the best movie ever.
No, I want to know why it's not number one.
Fair enough.
Why number two?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just super unexpected. But then when you're just in it, it's like, this is what it's all about. Like the scale, the scope, the realism of it, the thrill of it. It's all there, and everything just came together with the director and Tom Cruise, obviously, who does a lot of his own stunts, a lot of his own flying here, getting the whole crew up in the air, just filming every aspect of that. It's just so thrilling, on the edge of your seat, exciting. And the movie just kept upping itself and going deeper and deeper. So I don't know. I was just enthralled and excited the whole way through.
Yeah, I love this movie. I love it. It's so good. I don't want to mention much more about it right now because I want to save it. But you know what? Screw it. You know, we're gonna talk about it because this is my number one movie this year. I love this movie. I think it's pure cinema. It's like hook it to my veins. Everything about this movie works, in my opinion. It's a near perfect film for me. You know, the most important thing, obviously, it stars Tom Cruise. Just kidding. I've been kind of riding the coattails of this Tom Cruise joke for a while, but I do think he makes extremely entertaining movies. So say what you will, I don't care for him as like a human. I mean, I don't know him, but I certainly know of his things. Like there's no love lost for Scientology, for instance. Like, no, thank you. That is not cool. But he makes entertaining movies, and this is an extremely entertaining movie. So much so that I saw it twice in theaters. I would have seen it twice in IMAX. I would have seen it again in IMAX given the opportunity. It's tough to justify a third trip when you've got other stuff going on, but I just think it is so thrilling and so anchored in you know exactly what the movie's doing. It's not throwing really any true surprises at you, and I think one might say, oh, it's predictable. In fact, a friend of mine said that exact thing to me, but I think.
But it's almost like, who cares? Because
exactly.
It's such a crazy ride, and it's like,
it
of course, the old Tom Cruise, who's kind of
right.
He's not the hot shot anymore. He's gonna go on the mission, which we've been talking about the entire time.
Exactly. I'm like, to be upset at that feels like you're not paying attention to me. It's because it's like, what are you expecting this movie to do? It's delivering on the things that it knows it's good at. And like it delivers. The Iceman scene alone is worth like the price of admission. And that's not even like a thrilling scene. It's short, but it nails it. And it's that scene alone, a tearjerker. I mean, like not every movie I need to see needs to make me cry, but I do cry at the drop of a hat in a movie. But this is like earned, in my opinion. And then the stakes are clear. The action is understood. You know what's going on. It's not confusing. They do throw twists into the action sequences. Things happen that you aren't expecting, at least not to happen at that exact moment, right? You going into a movie like this, you know that a plane is going to crash, someone's going to get shot down at some point, that kind of thing will happen. You know that's going to happen, but you don't know when or how, right? Even the very first scene when he's doing the test pilot thing, is a heart-pounding, edge of your seat type experience, and that's just the opening sequence. It doesn't always make sense, and of course the physics aren't perfect, and it's been picked apart for some of those things, but it's an action movie, not a documentary. And I think
it's Top Gun. It's known for its beach volleyball shirtless scenes.
And they do in this I think, I don't know what they call
it. Beach football.
They call it something else. They call it dogfight football, I think, which is offense versus offense. There's two offenses on the field at the same time, and that's even like. Plus, I got to be honest, it kind of takes you back to like classic blockbuster movie. I got a Jaws poster behind me, and this movie, it's got a soundtrack with Lady Gaga and One Republic on it, and
your favorites.
And guess what? Both songs are awesome. Like I listen to them regularly. I think they're used expertly, and then plus they make they do this stuff. Sure, they throw in the Kenny Loggins is in there, and they've got the
doesn't the Lady Gaga song just appear in the credits?
It's the credits. Yeah, that's right.
Do they play Danger Zone?
Yes, that's the Kenny Loggins song, and
okay.
they played at the beginning. And the opening credits, one might argue, are exactly the same as the first movie, but they're in 4K. And so, I love this movie. I had nothing but pure joy while experiencing it. I got everything I wanted out of it. I got a heart pounding experience. I got thrills. There's a minor love story. That's not really, the first movie is a love story. That's basically, it's just a love story with action trappings, essentially. This movie is much more of an action movie with romantic trappings. But yeah, I have I can't name a single thing I didn't like about this movie. At least not now. These several months later. And that's why it's my number one. And Jeremy, I think it's a great pick at number two. But I think I know where you're going for with number one, so I'll be right there with you. So that leads me to my number two, which I don't know. I might be going on a limb here. It might be Jeremy's number one. We'll see for sure.
What we still doing Rachel's number. Number one next.
Yeah, she did her number 2. So it's Rachel's number. It's Rachel's number 1 after I do my number 2. So, let's.
But then my number 1 is your number. Okay.
I think so. But let's say it at the same time. All right, I'm gonna count down from 3, and then we're gonna say it at the same time. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Avatar: The Way. Okay, you're not saying Avatar: The Way of Water. Okay,
well,
yeah.
Do you want me to just say my number 1, and then you guys can talk about Avatar after? Does that make
That's
sense?
what I thought was gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So,
Rachel's number 1.
Because my number 1 was The Woman King.
Oh, nice.
Things.
Yeah, you haven't seen it?
I have
not.
Yeah,
I think I went.
I think you went with my
I went
girlfriend.
with your girlfriend to see it. I was like, yeah, me, Kara, and Brittany went to see it. It was really good, and like John Boyega is really, really, really good in it.
I didn't know John Boyega was in the movie.
He is.
All right, I love John Boyega.
It was. It's just so powerful.
Is he the Woman King? Just kidding.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
no.
I'm just kidding.
But it's so powerful. It's so well done. Like the acting is just top notch. It's just, I don't know.
It's based on a true story too, I think.
I think
it is.
Probably something along those, maybe loosely, but it was just so good, and it was
Viola Davis.
And it just had so many like heart wrenching spots, but then like
or is it Viola?
I don't know. So many good spots where you're cheering for people, but obviously there's good things and bad things that happen, and I don't know. It's an emotional ride all the way through, and you're just sitting there, just really
strong female lead.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a theme here.
She looks ripped.
But
Viola Davis looks absolutely ripped.
These women are so cool. They're so strong. They're so badass. The whole premise is that they're basically like the warriors of the village. It's not based on like male warriors. It's
what's the word I'm looking for here? Not a patriarchy.
It's not a matriarchy, because it's still, they have like there is like a male king and stuff too, but it's it seems like a lot of these girls that become these warriors are kind of like shunned from their families. That's kind of where the story starts off. Is a young girl who doesn't want to be married off to this gross
I'm
older
so
man.
sick of people getting married off all the time.
And it's like it starts right out where she mouths off to him and he hits her, right, and she's like, nah, like I'm not here. So her dad or whatever takes her and is like, well, whatever, you can go train, you can go live with them then if this is the way you're going to be, kind of thing, right? So it's just this whole story, and the warring tribes and stuff too, and then shitty white
colonialism,
shitty white men that come in, and not
the white
all
men
white
are
men,
really
but,
always pretty
colonialism
shitty.
and slavery and that kind of stuff too. It's a very big theme, and fighting back towards that too. So it's just,
the action looks really cool.
It's very emotional. It's a very strong, good movie, and I don't know. I just highly recommend anybody who hasn't seen it to go see it, because it's worth it. It's quite good.
So it's the logline here is a historic epic inspired by true events that took place in the kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most powerful states of Africa in the 18th and 19th centuries. That sounds really cool. Yeah. It is directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. That's a cool name. And it stars Viola Davis as the lead, and really hard to beat, but she's incredible. She's a master of her art. Yeah. Only got a 6.7 out of 10 here, but I've heard only good things about that, so that seems like it's probably unfairly low.
I thought it was just really incredible. So,
all right, yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, John Boyega's really good in it too. Like it's
this is your number 1.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't watch a ton of movies that came out in 2022, so I missed some of the big ones. Like if I go through my list, I saw the only other ones that I've watched that came out this year were Northman, Uncharted, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Uncharted's on there is so funny.
Hocus Pocus 2. And Avatar. So I mean, it's not.
I actually did a spit take. I'm sorry.
Did a spit take and spilled his water everywhere. But that's what I mean. It's like I didn't.
I just wasn't expecting Hocus Pocus 2. I'm so sorry.
I know. Not that this doesn't deserve it.
No, it sounds like Hocus Pocus 2 should be on there.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 is fucking terrible. So yeah, it's like the other ones were just relatively mediocre. And I know I saw Avatar, and it's not in my top 3.
Well, yeah, we noticed.
We can argue about it.
We'll find out. Let's find out.
You guys can talk about it. I can bring up why
it didn't work for you
in my top.
All right.
Not that it didn't work for me, but why it's not in my top 3.
Okay, fair enough. So The Woman King, like I said, I've only heard amazing things. I do want to watch it. I'll see when. Hopefully, it'll get to streaming service soon. Okay, let's talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. Avatar 2 for short. This is very similar to me to Top Gun. I kind of had them flip-flopping for a little bit, but I really just couldn't. I just couldn't. It couldn't top Gun for me, and I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it's because it's a little too long. It's a little self-indulgent at some moments, but boy, when this movie works, it fucking works, and the action is so cool and so well executed that, again, everyone always says you can't bet against Jimmy Cameron, and once again, those people are proven right, and the people who bet against him are lost again. So, it's a great movie. It's so much fun. I was listening to a podcast, and there someone was talking about convincing someone to go see this movie, and they're basically saying it's like the other person was basically like, I don't know, I watched the first one again on TV, or I watched it on my TV at home, and it just like wasn't doing it for me. And they're like, so I'm not really. I feel like maybe I'll wait for it to come to home video or whatever. And he's like, like no, like no. He's like, you're gonna go watch the movie, and it's gonna be bad if you watch it on your own TV. You have to go see it in the theater where it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So I have to agree. I mean, I think seeing it in the theater is a necessity.
I would agree with that. Yes.
And I think it's the first movie since, I guess it's not been that long, since Multiverse of Madness that really kind of uses 3D to its fullest extent. And even then, I feel like not that much. And maybe we just, it's so subtle that we're not really like, it doesn't jump out at you.
Wait, in this movie?
Yeah. In certain scenes it does.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's, other times not so much.
I found anytime they were actually like under the water,
so cool.
I was like, okay, cool. Like, and it brought me back into like seeing the 3D.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would just forget about it. Like, as soon as they were not in the water, I would just
you.
forget that the movie's in 3D.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So.
But I think that's why it's so good. Like the 3D it's so multi-layered that you just think it's not 3D anymore or something.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I think it was truly incredible how immersive 3D was here.
Yeah, it was.
But with the water in particular, like when we get to that part of the movie, it's astonishing just the feeling and sensation you get when the characters go underwater and they switch back and forth. Mm-hmm. It's never been captured like that other than like a documentary or something, and it's all entirely CG essentially.
I mean, it is and it isn't, but the fact that you can't tell is the magic of it, right? Like,
well, I mean, everything is essentially is computer generated, 100%.
Yeah,
all the actors have it's all performance capture, mocaps, no makeup, no real sets, none of it.
Yeah, but they cheat with, like, so for instance, one scene that I thought was particularly great looking, which is like a weird one to mention, but I'll mention it anyway, which is there's a moment where Jake is like wrapping a leather thing around his hand, and it's like just above the water, so sometimes it dips into the water, and it looks photoreal. My understanding is it actually is like that was a real leather strap, and it was somewhat his hand, but it's
a close up though.
Yeah,
so it's not. I think it's being blown out of proportion, that particular sequence, because I think a lot of this is photorealistic. For me, there are moments where I just couldn't understand how it looked the way it looked.
Well, it looks, you forget that it's CG.
Exactly, and that's the goal. Point. That's the goal.
Yeah,
right.
That's the point,
and that's what it nails.
The sense of scale. Ultimately, this is the best movie this year that introduced space whales, and the space whales are so fucking cool. I just like the more I thought about it, they're the coolest part of the whole movie.
They are. That was the most like heart-wrenching part for me was the whales, and like yeah, that made me literally cry.
People haven't been this upset about space whales since Star Trek 2.
About the whales. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was quite invested in those whales.
Yeah, I think the James Cameron knows water stuff. That's the secret.
Well, it's kind of like the difference, right? Like in the first one, it was kind of a little bit more of that underlying like deforestation. Yeah. And then this one's a little bit more about like whaling.
I think they called it the hippy dippy bullshit. Is the I think that's what the Fox executive called it, and he's like, "Well, I think I've been doing this long enough that, in fact, the whole movie's about the hippy dippy bullshit."
Yeah. But no, a lot of those whale scenes were like tough to watch.
Yeah.
It was, even though it's animated and it's whatever. It was, yeah.
You can't tell that it's animated.
No, it was still like it got me. Like it got me more than like characters.
Yeah.
You know.
Again,
but I'm like that with animals. Like if a dog dies, I'm way more upset than if
true.
a human dies.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, the other indictment is that, like, again, I cannot remember the name of the characters in this movie, and it's like I don't know if they just like because they're hard, they're like abstract. It's not like I mean, obviously Jake is a regular name, but like most of the other characters' names aren't, and I think that's what makes it challenging. But that's just a small knock against it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, I don't know if it matters that much. Like, I think there's some names you can remember, some not. But uh, with James Cameron, he's just so good at nailing the dynamic of different characters and introducing them, and you remember everyone's faces and what they're up to and what they're all about. You don't. It's like, oh, who was that again, or what did they look
I
like?
had a hard
Like,
time distinguishing the brothers from each other. I think
really,
from time to time. Yeah,
interesting.
I did. Okay. Just from like I if you put them in a lineup, maybe I certainly understood the distinction between them from a like character standpoint. You know, the older brother needs to, he's supposed to be the one that's looking out for him, and the younger brother who's more of a outcast. I understand that dynamic, but I don't instantly find them distinguishable. But again, I mean these are very small. If
I feel like
they're not nitpicks at all.
There is a little bit for me, like a little bit less character development for the older brother than the younger brother.
Well, yeah, he doesn't really he doesn't have much to do really until the end, and we won't spoil it.
No,
but
that's what I mean. It's like his dialogue and his scenes aren't as.
I don't think he has. I mean,
they're not that they're not as memorable. I just feel like they're not. That was my only like.
He doesn't have as much to do.
Why Avatar wasn't top 3 for me is because like visually it was beautiful. Yeah, I loved watching it. I think the cinematic experience, all that was great. It was just like the storyline didn't do it for me. I don't know. I just found like it was very similar to the last one for me. I was like, okay, it's kind of like the same story again, but like
to be fair, the first act of this movie is a reflection of the first movie.
I know.
And I think that to its benefit, I actually think it's really cool that they kind of use the kind of the premise of the first movie and then like flip it on its head and then make the bad guy go through that. Yeah,
right.
It's very cool.
Yeah, true.
But
it's like maybe I'm just being a little too hard on it, but
no, I think it's fair to criticize a movie like it's not a perfect movie. For instance, the female characters get almost nothing to do in this movie at all. It's kind of the opposite of the strong female character. I mean, she does have stuff to do at the end, but again, she's kind of sidelined for most of the movie.
I very much like what they do with the one sister there and how in tune with the
way of water
world that she is. But I would have liked a little bit more from that.
Yeah, it kind of just
Don't worry,
guys.
You'll get more.
Yeah. Well, I think like so he's already talking about like what the next movie is going to be like, right. And all that kind of stuff, and like there's gonna be a fire tribe and stuff like that. But are they gonna do another big time jump? Because if they do, then we're gonna kind of like age out of this kind of like teenager thing. But then I guess you'll have the younger kids who can fill that gap. But I don't know. I guess they certainly have placed enough characters on the board now that they have enough kind of like possibilities that they can play with going forward.
Right. Yeah.
Jeremy, what else do you love about this movie?
Yeah, I just really like the emotion that is just wrought throughout this thing, in terms of family, and what's at stake. I think
family is our fortress.
Plot. It's one of those things that these movies tend to get the critical eye from, but I think Cameron he kind of talks as if the plot is almost superficial to kind of what the experience is. And I feel like here there's so much stake in terms of the protection of this family and the threat that is just the worst case possible scenario that is that beginning part, that reflection on the first one, a human becoming an avatar, but it's the villain from the first movie, and now he has a whole new set of tools,
right,
and a whole team behind him and all these advantages. I just thought was so incredibly exciting. To go down that path, and then just revisiting these two characters from the first movie, and they have 5 kids now. Just so what a bold choice.
0 to 60.
And that's where those stakes, that emotional stakes, come from. Like as soon as like the kids are just on their own, and they come across what's the villain, the
Quaritch.
general, yeah, Quaritch. I just like, man, like this is, I was just
Such
so
a cool
excited.
scene in the
Yeah,
rain too. Like, and the rain looks
The rain
so
looked
good.
really good.
oh
Yeah, I mean,
man,
Yeah.
so the first act for me is still my favorite part of this movie. It's just so exhilarating watching the those ships land and like destroy the forest, and like it's just so wild because it basically says, hey, remember that first movie when the whole big deal was we just burned down this one tree? Well, what if we just destroyed a whole continent
Yeah.
basically at a time? And then really raises the stakes for what the rest of the series can be. I'm super stoked for
and
this.
then they just run away, and there's this whole other portion of this
Sure.
planet that the first movie just so well establishes to where audiences remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just go into this whole new journey where they're trying to connect with other people, and then their kids have to connect with the people there, and there's bullying going on. There's uh the whole
It's
situation
very
with
everything's relatable. That's what makes
yeah,
it so. That what makes it so uh, effective. I think is
yeah,
you
and then just
understand.
that exploration and the introduction of the water stuff is it's the duration is so appropriate.
It's
And
very long, but it's
yeah,
like it has to be. I feel like,
yes,
yeah,
it's so fun, and just like, because we got so much turmoil from before,
yeah,
so much potential war, and it's like, we for this moment we escape it, just
yeah, and
which
it's
was their
calm.
goal. They literally
Yeah,
jumped on their banshees and flew away to the furthest
yeah,
islands they could find, and then we're introduced to similar people, but their traits all make sense in terms of their body composition and their
Right.
tails
right.
and their arms. And uh uh yeah, just going into that, I'm like, what are we in for? And then the threat doesn't go away. That whole notion of running and what that means, and what you
Yeah,
would
you
do to
can't
protect
escape
your
it.
family
Yeah,
is just so unbelievably powerful here. Like, I connect with it so much. um so yeah, I can't believe that this movie isn't everyone's number one, to be honest. The experience is unlike anything else we've ever seen, I
yeah.
think, so far.
It's really something to have gone 10 years without a James Cameron movie, and then for this to be it, and then it really works. And I'm most excited, like what I'm happiest about, which is like, and I'll be honest, I think we were all a little cynical. I especially
I
was
was not.
cynical
I was
about
not.
the first movie. Yeah, okay, fair enough, Jeremy.
You
But
were the people. You're the person bet this whole betting against James Cameron thing. That's where
Yeah.
you unfortunately
no,
fall.
I mean, I I don't think I ever said I don't think I ever said the second movie was gonna fail. To be clear,
We can go
I don't.
back.
We
I
can check.
said that the word of mouth, it's gonna be a monster. I was just like, even to this day, I still think about the movie every now and then. Like,
Here's the thing: it's not gonna be as financially successful as the first movie, but that's literally the highest bar. So I'm not.
Yeah.
It doesn't
right.
have to
I mean,
reach
it's already
that to
crossed two
be.
billion in, like, what was it, like 4 weeks or something like that, or not? Like, it just is.
Well, it
It's
has
astonishing.
it has the ability to make money in China, and that other movies don't always have that option. So
Yeah.
that is good for
And
them.
they
But
already greenlit the third movie. It
or the
is
fourth
it
and fifth. The
yeah,
third was
it's
already done, right? That
right.
was the yeah.
Yeah, right, correct.
Like
Yeah.
it's finished.
The third
Yeah.
one is
So
they're just going through post production
because we
Oh,
got to
okay.
understand here that they just mocap performance captured all the actors in the same room, just eye
well
contact.
in pools too.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah,
and they just did. And so there's uh the main actress in Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's actually in
Michelle Yeoh.
yeah, she's in the third one.
Oh really?
Okay.
Oh
Yeah, so
sick.
there's gonna be a bunch of
That's awesome.
surprise. Yeah, a lot of
Interesting.
surprises are coming to this third movie. So
All right, all
they're
right, all
deep
right,
into
all right.
post production,
Hmm.
and then they even shot the beginning of the fourth film.
Wow.
So this is just
Yeah, and
a juggernaut moving
if
forward.
you've listened to any of James Cameron's interviews coming out of this movie, he just can't help himself. He just keeps giving little hints to what the next movies are going to be. And he's like, and he just goes like, we were workshopping this with the writers' room and trying to figure this out. And it turns out we moved this one thing from the second movie to the third movie, and
Right.
it totally works. And it's like, wow, how does that even make sense? I don't know how this works, but I'm so
The
excited.
best kind of hype or tease that I've heard from him is that he talks about how for this movie the studio gave him like 2 or 3 pages of notes, like when he handed in the script and
Right.
what they were going to greenlight and move forward with. and then the third movie there was only 1 page of notes, which we have yet to see.
Right.
And then the fourth movie script, they said there was no notes, and the studio just said, "Holy shit!"
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow. All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, I guess the studio finally figured out to stop betting against James Cameron.
Yeah. And then I love also like this whole like in the trailer, like Loak says the whole, the way of water connects all things.
Yes.
Before your birth and after your death, and just the struggle, the nemesis factor with Quaritch, and how they were both human at one point and now are avatars, and Quaritch was dealing with his former self and what that means and who he is now,
Yes.
and then his connection to
here for it.
Spider and his son, and
Yeah.
he owes Neytiri a death. Neytiri's raw emotion throughout this, her protective mother instincts nature, is off the charts in this movie. When her son, or I guess I can't spoil it, but just her end battle sequence when she's got to go full, it is one of the best action sequences of all time, easily.
There's a moment where she impales somebody with like a spear, and then like you can see the body still falling over as you're going to the next person that she's murdering. And the thing that I can't express this enough. I know I said this in a review, and I've said it about the first movie, but they get away with some absolute crazy violence that I don't understand how these movies are PG-13. They're just like, James Cameron's like, he's like paying off the critics and stuff, like whoever does that. I don't know. But like, or they're just like, we'll just promise we won't put blood. Like that's like the secret or something. I don't know. But just so many impalements, just countless impalements, dismemberments. It is wild. I'm really here for this Miles Quaritch redemption arc, because it's coming, and he's gonna be like, hear me out. He's gonna be like Dinobot from the Beast Wars.
The fuck are you talking
Jeremy,
about?
you know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
So Dinobot was originally a Predacon, but he was a bad guy, and he ended up joining the good guy team. I think that's what's gonna happen with Miles Quaritch. I honestly think that he's gonna have like a come to Awa moment, and he's gonna there's gonna be this redemption arc for him. Very Star Wars-esque,
maybe.
I think. We shall see. Or
I don't know. I think they went easy on us in this movie. To be honest, with,
you think he's gonna get worse?
Oh yeah, this. Yeah. I thought honestly, like Neytiri was gonna bite it on this one.
You think there's gonna be more deaths?
Oh, 100%.
Dude, we have
six. We have 6 movies. 7. Like,
and there's so many kids to kill.
This is
the other thing that I'm like interested in. I'm a little more on the fence about this, which is this kind of concept of. But I don't remember who's the daughter with immaculate conception. Who's what's her name?
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver's character, yeah. I like this idea that she's kind of like a Jesus allegory, that she's kind of like born of immaculate conception. There is a mystery of who's her father, right? We don't know. It's a mystery, but also that she has this connection to Awa that is like special. And like, what does that mean? I know they're going to explore that more, and I think that's interesting. The kind of immaculate conception part feels unnecessary, but maybe that's kind of a part of the whole fun. So we'll see. Anyway, that's Avatar: The Way of Water. Number 1 for Jeremy. Number 2 for me. All right, so any honorable mentions that you guys want to mention? So obviously the Batman was on mine. I really wanted to get on my list, but then the fact that I fell asleep when I watched it the second time wasn't a great
opinions can change, with time and multiple viewings.
Yeah, I still love that movie though. It's great. I had Prey on there. I know Rachel, that was on your list. It's a great movie. Love that. I also put Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I think it's the best Marvel movie this year.
Sam Raimi.
To watch it.
Yeah, Sam Raimi crushing it. I think every other Marvel movie this year kind of wasn't great in my opinion. Thor and Wakanda Forever were both average, mid, as the kids say. And then Glass Onion's also on my list. I think it's a very fun time and very much worth people's time.
Yeah.
Disappointments though for me, this one's an easy one. Jurassic World Dominion had the promise of the original cast returning, and they just dropped the ball so hard. They just couldn't have made a less interesting movie about
it was all
dinosaurs.
member berries.
It wasn't really. It was about locusts.
I mean, they try to capture attention with nostalgia and the past.
There are some cool moments and some cool scenes, but man, it's just like it's so whatever. It's what a waste of time. Like, Jurassic World Dominion is. I really wanted to like it, and I could not. Lightyear, a movie that absolutely flopped, but I think rightfully so. It's like, who is this movie for? Listening to people review this movie, they said that it scared their kids. Like, so it's like, okay, so it scares. Really? It's scary to children.
That's funny.
It's high concept, and it's an abstract idea based on Toy Story. It doesn't make sense.
It's what the toy was based off of, or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
like which
it's
is not
like just make a Buzz Lightyear movie with
the toy,
like with the toy, but it can be its own. Like it doesn't have to be a small little toy in a man's world, in a human world, or whatever. Yeah, it can just be like Buzz Lightyear at Mission Command, and you meet all his
Could be fun, a fun Star Wars-esque adventure. Instead, it's like very Avatar-esque, actually, in some ways. It has like timey-wimey bullshit. Like it's a
cool trailer though, with the David Bowie song there.
Oh yeah, I mean, it looks really good. It's one of the best Pixar movies we've seen in a long time. But man, it's very forgettable. And then Uncharted, which a movie that despite going in having low expectations, still somehow managed to not even meet those. And
See, I never.
But there were like some positive takeaways from it. That was what I remember. And it actually made, I think it made like a lot of money actually for its budget.
I just don't want Mark Wahlberg. Like I don't.
Well, you're fine with Tom Holland as.
I'm not even fine. I'm not necessarily fine with that either. But he at least has kind of some of the shtick down. He's kind of got the right.
Yeah, I just remember the Wahlberg like he was hired because of a certain like comedy that he brings, and it worked every single time in the scenes where he was utilizing it. I
suppose. Yeah. He's doing his Mark Wahlberg thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I remember thinking like the whole, there's a twist in the middle, or halfway through the movie that's like so uninspired and like absolutely lame.
It's crazy that Naughty Dog has two of their huge video game franchises are now turned into live action.
And one of them is good, and the other one is not.
What's the other one?
The Last of Us.
Oh, okay, yes, that's more recent. Yeah, I watched Uncharted on an airplane, and it was a good airplane movie.
You know what? It is a good airplane movie.
It's a perfect airplane movie.
Yes, it's a perfect.
There's a whole airplane scene.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I never, like I said, I never played the video game, so I don't know.
You're the perfect audience for that movie. Then.
The CG is terrible. The effects are terrible. So on a small little screen.
Yeah, it was like entertaining
as it was intended
to like waste some time on an airplane. I was like, it's okay.
What was the funniest as it was intended like airplane movie that someone watched? Oh, I think it might have been like Scorsese's what was that Netflix one? The Irishman.
The Irishman.
Just like 3.5 hours. On a small little screen, and then another one was it 1917, like that, that one shot war epic
action movie. Yep. Just as
and then it was Christopher Nolan's Tenet too. Just on that was the one that was supposed to revive movie theaters, and then it's just like on a little plane.
Well, I think you know what? If it had come out this year, I think it would have had a much better shot at kind of taking part in.
But if you look at the numbers, it actually did pretty well considering what was going on.
What, Uncharted?
No, Tenet.
Oh, Tenet.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, considering it came out literally in the middle of COVID, it did fine. Yeah. They literally reopened theaters just for that and then closed them again.
Yeah.
After I did see that movie in theaters, and I think that movie very confusing. And I think most people do. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's a lot of like masks on, and you can't see their lips moving, so you don't really know what they're saying. And there's always helicopter.
The sound mix is as weird again. Nolan's got to figure that shit out, man. Like I don't like. this sound mix where we don't hear people speak is not it. It's not it.
Well, there's this notion of like you kind of get what like who the bad guy is, who the good guy is, who's
Sure.
confused, who has the upper hand. You're kind of lost in this crazy scenario of time warp. Like I think it's that sense of being lost within that is like kind of what he was trying to convey.
Sure.
But as an audience member, we're just like we don't know at all what's
You're
going
just
on.
drowning
So
in
we're
just-
not stupid.
yeah.
You're stupid for not sound mixing it better.
Yeah. Well, the sound mix doesn't help because then you can't even understand what people are saying. So, especially that sailing scene, which is very cool, but man, stupid. It's just I don't know. I'm not stupid. You're stupid. That's good. That's good. And okay, Rachel, you have a couple honorable mentions.
Oh, I just have The Northman as an honorable mention.
Nice. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it was really. It's so hard because I saw it near the beginning of the year, I think. Right.
It must have been. Yeah, I think it came out in January.
Yeah, I think it came out much earlier in the year, but I like a good Viking movie.
I've heard it's very good, actually.
It is very good.
I
Like
want to watch
cinematically,
it.
it's good. The story's very good, and it was honestly, like it's hard for me to like pick out specific things to talk about right now because it's been so long. It's been a year since I've seen it.
It just
But,
visually looks very interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was just a really cool storyline.
And another Skarsgård is in that.
Yeah, of course. You can't have a Viking movie without a Skarsgård.
Yeah, I think that's actually a law in Finland.
Yeah.
But
no, it was very well done and like cinematically like looked great. And it was just
Robert Eggers makes weird movies, and this one is supposed to be his most approachable, but apparently it was still very weird.
I wouldn't call it that weird. It was just like it's a Viking movie. Like,
Sure.
I think he wanted it to be more weird because I saw a quote where he said like he had to like cut a lot of stuff out, and there's kind of a version or a director's version that's a lot more intense.
That's cool.
And well, that's kind of what threw me off of not really like looking for this movie because of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A young Viking prince is on a quest to avenge his father's murder. Very straightforward idea.
Yeah.
It looks very like
there's a lot more
visually
to it.
interesting.
I don't know. There's a lot
Nicole
more. Nicole
Kidman is in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't really like Nicole Kidman, but okay.
That's neither here nor there.
Joy that's really good in it too.
And is she good?
All right.
I like her.
She's very good.
Princess Peach.
Yeah.
Oh, Willem Dafoe's in this. I like him. Who else is in it? Princess Peach. Yeah.
Princess Peach.
She's voicing her in the new movie.
Yes. Alexander Skarsgård has no pants in this photo. On IMDb, his IMDb has no pants, but like a suit jacket on, two-piece suit jacket.
I feel like all those Skarsgårds are all good looking. It's insane. Like I don't know.
Yeah, who's your favorite?
I don't know.
It's got to be.
It's got to be the Northman.
Yeah.
The Northman.
The Northman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like anytime I get them all mixed up. I probably wouldn't. If you had them all in front of me,
I don't know. They all look the same. They're all blonde. Yeah, fair enough.
But no, and then really, I highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Watch it on your 4K TV.
You know what? You're right. I should do that. Thank you. Yeah. And then you have Avatar as your disappointment.
Yeah, not as disappointed. I liked Avatar.
Sounds like that's where it's listed here. I'm just looking at the.
It's fine. You just gotta watch it again. Trust me. Just go watch it one more time.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, I probably won't watch it again before the next one. I'll just watch the next one when it comes out. But
Jeremy,
I was like, cool.
Any honorable mentions, disappointments for this year?
No, I think I share similar to you. I mean, I didn't see that much stuff too. Like Doctor Strange was cool. Like we were talking about Sam Raimi.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also saw Pinocchio recently, the Guillermo del Toro one, and it's very good. I'd recommend that.
Oh, and Hocus Pocus 2 is terrible.
Shocker. We were all surprised.
It's really bad.
Okay, so I just want to quickly touch on a couple things that are from last year that I think are standout, and then we'll wrap this sucker up. We talked about this a little bit already, but epic cinema kind of returned to theaters, and there's a quote from James Cameron. This is in his Directors Guild interview that they have their own podcast. The Directors Guild has. It's often way too short, in my opinion, but they're good little tidbits in there, and they're like it's directors interviewing directors. And in fact, speaking of Guillermo del Toro, it's Guillermo del Toro interviewing James Cameron, and they kind of bring up this idea of like what does saving the movie theater experience mean, and kind of how do you even do that? And James Cameron kind of said he takes a moment and he pauses and he kind of thinks about it, and he's like, well, I've been thinking about this a lot, And I think what it is, it's not about the bigger screen or it's not about the better sound, although that helps. It's about when we go to the movies, it's about making a promise to ourselves to give the movie our full attention and to transport ourselves into another world and putting our phones away and removing distraction. And when someone makes that choice, you need to reward them with an experience that truly does transport them to another world. So that's kind of what his his take on the theatrical experience is, and I think he totally nails it, because as we talked about, Jeremy, these OLED TVs are great. It's some of the best stuff you can watch, right? But I still want to go to the movie theater because there's something magical about that experience that I truly cherish. And I know some people are much more cynical about it, and they're like, "Well, why when I can watch anything on Netflix now or whatever?" And fair enough. Those are the people who watch. They're the people who watch shows like Yellowstone. I'll just put that out there, and that's fine. That's we just are on a different. We're on a different.
Streaming is it's a whole new world. You get your daily fix, but it's not the same. Contract essentially. You can break it at any moment. You can get up, you can stop, you can pause, you can look at your phone. A theater, you are fully locked in. They're giving the biggest, loudest, experience, and the movies that James Cameron makes
deserve.
It's pure cinema escapism.
Yeah.
And also with Avatar, it's like the possibilities now, in terms of what worlds you can create, what characters you can create. It's basically endless now.
Well, yeah, and outside of just of the Avatar world, it opens the door for any
sort of fantasy epic or visualization is now essentially possible.
Yeah, you can really do anything, and again, I think we should also mention Top Gun does it reaches for those same heights, and I think achieves them in my opinion.
It has that visceral action that is just on the edge of your seat.
Well, and it's real.
You feel like it's real. You don't you don't see any CG essentially. Like, there probably is, but very minimal.
So I think what excites me is that this has happened. People went to go see these movies. I mean, Top Gun made way more money than anyone expected. It's the highest grossing film Tom Cruise has ever made.
Yeah, it's 1.5 billion.
Yeah, it's wild. And
so many guys grew mustaches after.
True.
You know what they did?
Guilty.
Many.
They did.
Yeah. See, Jeremy. Guilty.
I also had a baby though too, so I figured what point am I supposed to start having a mustache?
Well,
if not now.
Just he just looked at my dad and was like, "Well, that's how it's done." Yeah.
That was like
Timothy Dalton.
That's right. Well, who also has an epic mustache, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend's husband, she's like, yeah, he saw Top Gun, so now he has a mustache.
That's funny. I don't think I could pull it off. I honestly don't think I could do them.
It depends. You kind of need to have
it's not bushy enough.
Yeah,
I was
like,
bushy enough.
I can see from Jeremy's photo that you have up here that he can grow thicker facial hair.
Yes, he can.
Here,
he's always been growing beard since he was in high school.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
You kind of need to have that thick facial hair to grow a good mustache.
I agree, especially if you really want it to be a good crumb catcher, you got to have it. Yeah.
You have that French mustache.
Oh, damn it! Oh man, that's
je ne sais quoi.
That's not what I'm looking for at all. Damn it! Well, I guess I do wear a scarf often, so. Anyway, I'm just really happy that this experience is back in theaters, and I'm really hoping that there's a message that is received by Hollywood that it says this is what people want to see, and it doesn't have to be only this, although it may spell the continuing doom and gloom for the low to middle class movie that just doesn't get people out to the theater. So that's one thing. Obviously, we also saw the implosion of Warner Brothers DC as it was sold to Discovery. And that is still ongoing and playing out, but it's depressing. The stuff we hear. The more I think about it, the more I just feel like so much was avoidable in terms of kind of the heartbreak of it all. Jeremy, I honestly feel like, you can hear me out on this. If Black Adam never came out, this would not be as much of a problem. I honestly
what do you mean?
I just feel like Black Adam created this nexus of confusion and expectation that was dashed very soon after. But that was always going to come. But instead, The Rock inserted himself into the situation and made it worse for everyone. And I just feel
Remember
like
I said that,
so unfortunate.
there's a moment in time where everyone was kind of shooting their shot.
Yeah.
And The Rock went all in because his movie was in production, right? And
you never even saw the movie. I should have put it on my disappointments. By the way,
I didn't. Say, I'm like,
I
why isn't that on?
There's nothing about that movie that's attractive to me. It's just
I didn't watch it either. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
It's bad, guys. It's not good.
Even like the trailers didn't.
His
look
performance is not good.
It
like
just
it
looks
is
like
bad.
The Rock doing a character.
He's The Rock, just dressed in stupid clothes.
That's what I mean, and I'm like
floating around.
That's why it's so hard for me when they use him in certain movies. I feel like it doesn't work, and if they had a different actor that wasn't already such a giant personality, it probably would have done better.
You're describing the problem I have with some actors who I can't see past their.
Yeah, and he's one of those like big ones where it's like sometimes it works if he's playing like a goofy role or whatever, it's fine. But I just feel like
he hasn't played a goofy role since that like Tooth Fairy movie or whatever.
Yeah,
or is that Vin Diesel?
I
don't remember.
Like, he's fine. Well, I don't know. He's fine in Fast and the Furious. That works. Like I think.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Then he had speaking of Vin Diesel, he just had a fault, and there was a fallout with that whole scenario, so he's not even in those now.
But that's what I mean. It's just kind of he works in some places, but other places he doesn't. And
Vin Diesel's probably laughing though, because this one bombed.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
I just feel like they should have given that opportunity to somebody else, and they probably could have done it better.
Well, the thing is, he'd been pitching that movie for years, and I think fair enough.
I think he's kind of a fraud, though. I think he was just looking for a character that fit his like archetype. Like I think there's interviews where like he just basically saw a character that had the same color as his skin. He's like, yeah, I want to be that guy. Nothing wrong with that, but like.
He had
I don't know. He didn't put
in a character.
Yeah, but he made it. He sold it that it was all of his own like Like he was so into this character,
right?
But it wasn't. It was just a vehicle. It was a vehicle to get on this trend to just have these crazy action superhero movies, and it's just the wrong time. It just was a little too late.
Yeah, it was I mean, maybe this movie came out 4 years ago. It might have been
5,
4 or 5 years ago, right when like in the heat of kind of all of the biggest comic book movies. It's kind of flattened a little bit. It might have had a better chance, and we probably would have had a sequel by now already. But I think the decision to go over executives' heads to bring Henry Cavill back for one crappy cameo,
welcome home,
has so much lasting ramifications that just didn't need to be there. It just didn't have to happen that way. If that had never happened, people would have been, it is disappointing that Henry Cavill's not back as Superman. But hey, we kind of already come to terms with that. Instead, now we have this whole other side circus with this whole deal, and it's like it just casts a whole shadow on everything. I mean, and then this is, of course, by the way, on top of the stuff that Warner Brothers is doing outside of DC, stuff that they're like pulling shows from HBO Max. Their decision to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus into a new streaming service called Max. Everyone, that's the name. And cut programming left and right. All for kind of a cynical reason, which is to service an extreme debt, and that is it. They canceled a movie that was done, ready to ship.
What?
That no one will ever see for a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Batgirl.
Oh.
Which, by the way, starred Brendan Fraser as a cool villain.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
So wait, it was completely finished? Like
it was done.
Could have been sent to theaters.
It's done.
It was it was probably in post-production, maybe like certain effects weren't
late
finished. Maybe.
I mean, maybe that's one that he can dig up later. I don't know how that works.
I think
they called it a funeral viewing. Like they had whatever cut that was final. They got together at the studio and watched it one last time.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the end of like or just like the showing of what Discovery was going to do once they acquired Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
The whole show business, not show friends.
David
David Zaslav, the CEO,
yes,
kind of being the face of it. A lot of rumors and stuff, and then out of nowhere hiring James Gunn, right? To run all of DC along with another producer, which is effectively what kind of put the axe on the Black Adam, Henry Cavill kind of continuing the DC universe. And we have yet to hear James Gunn's plan, but he said this month, someone tweeted at him, the month's almost over. Where's your plan? And then James Gunn replied, it's not even 2/3 over or something like
that. Yeah, well, fair enough. I mean, there's still 10 days, 11 days left at this point. So that's, like I said, that story's still unfolding. But it actually does segue nicely into the next thing that I think is kind of overshadowed most of 2022, which is Netflix's insistence on self-sabotage and this, I think, reckoning that the streaming, that, like, the era, the
reckoning.
Yeah, it's a great word. I love reckoning as a word. Great movie word, but it the golden age of like content is over. Is kind of like the statement there. We were very spoiled with how much we could watch, and not only how much we could watch, the quality of it, how expensive it was,
quantity and quality.
The just Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which is a show that I loved, extremely expensive. I don't know if it needed to be that expensive. You know what I mean? But
they knew it would sell because Lord of the Rings is so huge in our pop culture.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think there's not going to be a lot of that. I don't think there's going to be a lot of that going forward. I mean, Amazon is in a unique position to afford it. Apple is in a unique position to afford it. But, and Disney from time to time, but even they cut corners. Obi-Wan, So, this idea that we should, that we've been, again, spoiled with not only the price of streaming services, which is only going to continue to go up, but also the quality and the quantity of content we've had on those services is going to decrease, actually. Which is a compounding problem because the future of television streaming, they all know it, but they are all scrambling, every single one of them. Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime. There's the list goes up. Peacock, Hulu. Like they're all kind of grasping at straws, and it's starting to crumble under their feet. None of them make money. Disney Plus doesn't make money now. And they would love to be able to just bundle this all and throw it back in a cable package like they used to, and then put ads on it. And I think people have gotten used to what they've had. And Netflix today announced that they fully expect they will lose subscribers when they implement their paid password sharing program. And that's, I mean, I think I read some replies to that tweet, and it was like, if your business's decision is going to lead to a loss of customers, maybe it's a bad idea. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't do it. So there's a lot of this kind of stuff going on. Netflix has never made money, ever. Not since they became a streaming service and weren't just a DVDs in the mail service. If you guys remember
back in the day,
yeah. So I think it's we've only seen the beginning of this, and it's unfortunately very crappy and anti-consumer in most ways, in my opinion. But that is what I mean. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they can't continue to just pour money and lose money on these things, I suppose. I would love it if they could. That would be great. Just keep making good shit, and I don't care. I'll pay $5.99 a month. But instead, we got stuff like Crave to get our HBO content here in Canada. License out $23 a month or something crazy like that. And you don't even get 4K. Never mind. Half the time you don't even get 1080p. So I just don't have a lot of faith that these guys are going to figure it out.
Maybe the average consumer doesn't care about 1080p or like HD.
I bet you I think they care about $25 a month.
That's a lot. Yeah, I wouldn't pay $25 a month for Curry.
Would you
had it back in the day. And
would you pay $25 a month for Netflix? Because that's where we're very close to that price already.
That's a lot.
And their content's gotten worse. What was the last Netflix movie that you? Glass Onion. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it was great. But Wednesday was also good. That was Netflix. But I am
we got Rebel Moon coming out end of the year.
I'm an avid.
Is that Netflix too?
Watcher, but
yeah.
All right, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff.
Pays for Netflix, so
yeah. So that's the thing. You're kind of it's not technically password sharing, but I watched my parents' Netflix. I mean, it's true. I got my. I mean, is it mooching? They made profiles.
No,
there's multiple profiles. I have my own.
That's funny.
I think, by the way, if they're smart, they really want to do this. They should let you port your algorithm with you to your new Netflix
I don't know what that means.
thing. Because because your Netflix is different than my Netflix. If you log into your algorithm,
yeah, like it looks different.
You get shown
up.
different things,
Yes,
and
yes, depending on what you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've spent years curating Netflix to tell me the things I watched a movie recently, 2 days ago, called White Noise, which is a very odd movie with Adam Driver. It's very weird, but very good. I really like it. I'm a big Adam Driver fan. I would have never watched that movie, but Netflix has said that I would 98% chance I would like that movie, and guess what? They were right. They were right. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting time.
They just need to set up a good way that you can if you have multiple accounts, the other accounts can put money into paying for it.
I think that's what they're trying to do.
Which is fine by me. I'm whatever. If I need to pay, if I'm on somebody else's Netflix, and
how much would you pay?
$10 a month or $8 a month or something.
Sounds like
to watch Netflix.
Sounds
and
like
have
a lot.
That password. That's not
sounds like a lot when someone already's paying for it.
No, but I mean, if you're splitting the cost, it's they should let you split it up. The cost.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure it'll be very pro-consumer.
Yeah, well, probably not. But
yeah,
I
probably
see.
not.
That's why I like Amazon Prime's thing, because I just get Amazon Prime because I use it.
Well, the thing is,
packages.
Amazon Prime is also super expensive. It's like $100 and something a year.
Yeah, but I find that it's actually worthwhile.
Yeah,
$100 a year isn't that much.
You get it for.
I actually use Prime for
the deliveries
shipped all the time.
It has
to me,
perks.
it's just worth it for that.
Yeah, and then I find for me, I pay for the deliveries, and then I get The Boys and Amazon and Lord of the Rings for free.
For free, that's how I think about it too. I'm okay, and I get these extra. I can watch One Tree Hill and my garbage shows.
Yeah, there's some really weird stuff on there. We watched. I don't know if you saw this LOL, which is Last One Laughing.
No,
it's not good. Don't watch it. It's not good.
And
but
I can rent stuff on there too, which is
sure. I suppose. I mean, and then they have the channels, so you can get AMC and stuff like that. But anyway, and then
so that one makes sense that it's a little more worth it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they are kind of on a different model. They don't have to survive off of their content so much as just keep you interested. And then I guess the last thing, which is the event heard around the world. We're about to see the follow up to it, which is last year's Oscars. We saw one of the biggest stars in the world get up on stage and slap one in the face. It's wild. So people still talking about that. But that was just something that obviously we're excited for the Oscars. The Oscars, I think, are in February, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have the Oscar nominations yet, although I'm sure they're out any day. And what that means is that we'll be leading up very quickly to our Oscars show, which is one of my favorites of the year, where we talk about all of the Best Picture nominations. Sometimes it's hard to see them all. In fact, I'm pretty sure, Jeremy, you haven't seen all of them for a couple of years now. But
no.
It's nice when the Best Picture nomination is 8 or 7 movies instead of 10, and when half of them are movies you've already seen. That's the dream. That's the dream right there. Then you only have to watch a couple Oscar bait movies, and then you're good to go. I think movies like Brooklyn come to mind, which is a movie that I actually don't mind, but it's man, hard pressed to convince me to watch a movie like that if it wasn't an Oscar movie. But anyway, I'm excited. It's always fun, so be prepared for that. We always try to do that ahead of, and we'll do our Oscar predictions as well. We'll do our ballot. That's always fun. So that's the next kind of special event for the first half of this, or I guess the first quarter of this year at TOB. Other than that, look forward to our film club coming up at the end of the month, which is again The Saint, 1997 movie, The Saint. And
you guys haven't watched it yet?
No,
I'm gonna have to rent it on Amazon Prime.
yeah, I think me too, actually. Yeah. Or actually, I have a free. I get the #1 package at the movie theater, and you get a free movie rental on the Cineplex store. So I might try that.
There you go.
And yeah, so look forward to that. And again, if you want to help support the show, patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. Follow us on Twitter @TowerBabbleCast, and head over to our website, towerbabble.ca, and towerbabble.ca/live to watch us live, which we do every Thursday for our Bad Batch recaps, and then that'll be quickly transition into The Mandalorian Season 3 recaps, which we'll have rotating guest stars, I suppose, while Rachel's breastfeeding or whatever.
Dealing with a baby. Raising my child.
Yeah. But looking very exciting that season, so it should be very fun.
Well, that comes out in March, so I have some time.
Yeah, we got time.
I got at least 4. You got 4 episodes out of me, probably.
So. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
And anyway, I appreciate everyone who's been listening for the last year. I hope you also had a good movie experience this year and TV experience, and I'd love to hear your favorites. You can do that on the Patreon, on our Discord, and chat with us there. or you can send us an email, towerbabblepodcast@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to chat with you there. Until our next episode, we will talk to you soon. And I usually say may the force be with you if we're doing the Star Wars one, but I'm not going to do that. So just we'll talk to you later. We'll see you next year for the Tobie's 7th annual.